Chapter 361, Hehe, I won't get caught this time. Hehe, Vice Chairman Theo, pack them carefully so they doesn't get scratched. Sejun cautioned Theo as he looked at the gemstone pebble road laid by the pebble god, Peblos. Hut, Chairman Park, no worries, meow. I Vice Chairman Theo have very soft and squishy paws, meow. Theo confidently showed his pink jelly pads in response. Really? Ahem, let's see how soft and squishy they are. Sejun pretended to check and touch Theo's paw pads. Feeling the soft sensation, the corners of his mouth curled up without him realizing it. Thus, Sejun enjoyed a brief healing time, and then seriously started picking up the gemstone pebbles with Theo. A short while later, there are 1,000 ruby gemstone, 1,000 sapphire gemstone, and 1,000 emerald gemstone. Sejun checked the number of gemstones they had collected. A total of 3,000 gemstones. The pebble god, Peblos, was indeed a god overflowing with love. Hut, Chairman Park, can I burn the pebbles, meow? Theo, his eyes shining toward the gemstones, asked Sejun. Sure. Having brought the jewel of the earth, Theo had enough shares in the gemstones and gladly gave one of each type of the 3 kinds of gemstones to Theo. The largest size. There was not much difference since the sizes of the pebbles were similar. Hut, burn brightly, meow. Whoosh. Theo laughed as he burned the 3 gemstones at once. As the size of the gemstones decreased, Theo's body glowed even brighter. Hut, Chairman Park, I've become stronger, meow. Face towards me, meow. The brightly glowing golden Theo lifted his front paws and leaped towards Sejun's face. And then, squish, squish. Theo clung to Sejun's face and earnestly started massaging. Today was the day he'd finally rid Chairman Park's rotten face, meow. Thus, Theo massaged Sejun's face until the golden light disappeared. However, meow, I failed, meow, I couldn't root it out, meow. Looking disappointed as if he hadn't achieved what he wanted, Theo returned to Sejun's lap. This guy. As the owner of that failed face, Sejun felt displeased. But it does seem like my senses become a bit sharper when I receive Theo's massage. During Theo's massage, Sejun recalled having a wider field of vision, better hearing, and an enhanced sense of smell. However, he also smelled Theo's pungent paw odor more distinctly. Definitely, his senses were heightened during Theo's massage. Maybe the rottenness Theo mentioned was not about appearance but related to nerves. That's right, my appearance can't be ugly. Sejun arrived at a satisfying conclusion. However, you have overcome an unfortunate reality with a mental victory. Your soul feels fulfilled. Your mental strength increases by 5. The system informed him as if to make a point. How is this a mental victory? Sejun ranted at the unresponsive system for a while. Abundance. Power abundance is applied to the sundried red pepper. The amount of yield that the sundried red pepper will bear next doubles. Sejun went to the sundried red pepper field and used his power on it. Tyr also became a VIP of Dragon Market. When Tyr became a VIP, Kaiser felt a sense of fear. The Dragon Market VIP trial lasts for 30 days. And Tyr became a Dragon Market VIP a day later than him. That means, even if it's just for a day, there will be a time when Tyr's rank is higher than his own. Moreover, what if Kellyan becomes a VIP at Dragon Market even later? Then Kellyan will be the only one left as a Dragon Market VIP, mocking him, Ramter, and Tyr, who have been downgraded to regular status. That can't happen. Just the thought of it was too dizzying. It was a case of reaping what one sows, but he didn't want to accept that outcome. I need to find a way to extend the Dragon Market VIP period. Not wanting to be downgraded to a regular member, Kaiser went to find Sejun. As Kaiser went to find Sejun, Kellyan, the only one with the normal grade, was leaving the Golden Tower. After drinking my alcohol and rejecting that sly Artemis bastard. Kellyo failed in his Dragon Market business pitch to Artemis Yull, the leader of the great Golden Dragon clan. Now the only ones left are the Great Brown Dragon. Kellyan flew toward the Brown Tower to meet Grave Renma, the leader of the Great Brown Dragons. I need to go to the bathroom. Sejun, who had consumed a lot of mugwort juice potion while using his power at the sundried red pepper field, went to the bathroom. And on the way out of the bathroom, why is it like this here? Sejun spoke as he looked at the ground around where the jewel of the earth had been embedded. He couldn't feel any vitality in the soil. The cherry tomatoes planted nearby had all withered away. Earlier when it said it absorbs the power of the earth, did it absorb all the vitality, abundance? Sejun used his power to restore the vitality of the land. Power abundance is applied to the land. The land becomes twice as fertile. Abundance. Only after using the power 5 times, the stems of the cherry tomatoes finally regained their health. Gulp. You have consumed water-diluted mugwort juice of life. Your life force is restored by 10%. Sejun drank the mugwort juice potion to recover the life energy he had used. At that moment, Sejun. Kaiser came looking for Sejun. Kaisernim, hello. Yes, our Sejun is working hard. As expected, our Sejun is very diligent. Oh, your face looks a bit better too. What's this? Why so many compliments today? As Sejun looked at Kaiser with suspicion. Puhu Hut. Kaisernim, that's because I, Vice Chairman Theo, have been keeping Chairman Park's face from rotting for a while, meow. Theo boasted about what he had done to Kaiser, who appreciated his efforts. I see, Theo must have worked hard. Puhu Hut. That's right, meow. I, Vice Chairman Theo, have had a very hard time because of Chairman Park, meow. Vice Chairman Theo, be quiet. Sejun told Theo to be quiet, gritting his teeth. Understood, meow. Theo, who always listens well. In response to Sejun telling him to be quiet, Theo rubbed his face against Sejun's lap and acted cute. But Kaisernim, what brings you here? After watching Theo's cute behavior for a moment, Sejun asked Kaiser. I came to ask if there's a way to extend the Dragon Market VIP period. A way to extend the Dragon Market VIP period. Yes. Kaiser waited eagerly for Sejun's answer with eager eyes. That's easy. If your total purchases for the month exceed 300 billion tower coins, the Dragon Market VIP period automatically extends for 30 days. Really? Is it that easy? Yes. Keohata. Kaiser was overjoyed at Sejun's words. 300 billion tower coins was an amount he could reach by purchasing just 3 black beans. By diligently purifying fragments of Fenrir's core and clearing the red mist outside, he could earn enough within a month. This meant he could be a VIP at Dragon Market for life. I won't have to worry about being ridiculed by Tyr or Kellyan. As Kaiser felt relieved. And if the total cumulative purchase exceeds 5 trillion tower coins, you can become a VVIP, which is a higher tier than VIP. What VVIP? Kaiser was shocked at Sejun's words. A rank higher than VIP, it was exhilarating. He wanted to quickly surpass the other dragons in rank and look down on them. Kehaha, Sejun, I'll buy 3 black beans for now. Though Kaiser had 400 billion tower coins, he refrained from spending his entire fortune impulsively. Money must be spent strategically. Whether the monthly cumulative purchase was 300 billion or 400 billion tower coins, the VIP period would extend for the same 30 days. So he spent exactly 300 billion tower coins to extend his Dragon Market VIP period for another 30 days. Then he quietly flew towards the fountain, making sure other dragons didn't notice. Brown Tower Administrative Area. Kellyan, what brings you here? Grave Renma, the leader of the Great Brown Dragons, asked as he saw Kellyan who had come to see him. We aren't friends who meet only when there's trouble, are we? I've even brought some samyanju to drink with you. Kellyan began his pitch for Dragon Market as he brought out the liquor. A little later. So, I've been having a lot of worries lately. Yes, you've had it tough. I understand how you feel, I know. Our white tower, too. Kellyan responded empathetically to Graves' words and filled his empty glass. This time, it felt promising. It didn't seem like he would just drink and refuse like Artemis had. But I mustn't be hasty. If he failed here, becoming a VIP at Dragon Market would be out of reach. He had to be very careful. So he got Grave to drink a little more. Grave, there's a place called Dragon Market. There you can find. He introduced the Dragon Market, which sold crops with various abilities. He explained that he and Kaiser were buying crops that offered the powers of light and darkness. Ramter, Kin, and Brachio were buying crops that absorbed overflowing fire energy, water energy, and vitality. And Tyr was buying crops that detoxified toxins accumulated in the body. Dragon Market, there's really such a place. Grave, who had been troubled by issues in the Brown Tower, showed immediate interest. Especially since the situations in the Red, Blue, and Green Towers were similar to that of the Brown Tower, he was even more intrigued. It's true, and I'm sure there's a crop in Dragon Market that can solve the problem of the Brown Tower. Kellyan confidently stated. Sejun will somehow take care of it. Kellyan had known Sejun for a long time. Sejun always seemed prepared, pulling out the necessary crops as needed. Then let's head out right away. Okay, follow me. Kellyan flew to the Black Tower with Grave, who would help upgrade him to become Dragon Market VIP. After Kaiser left, having quickly settled lunch with Aileen's meatball piece, Sejun stopped while strolling through the farm. Slurp. Sejun took a sip of the coffee he was holding in his right hand while looking up at the blue sky. Ah, this is relaxing. He indulged in some rare alone time. Gorarung. Of course, it wasn't completely alone since Theo was sleeping on his lap, having eaten his fill of churu. Well, he would feel lonely if he were truly alone, so this was just perfect. The 5 colored beans are grateful for the farmer's footsteps and lend their strength. Your agility stat potential increases from 1651 to 1652. While Sejun was enjoying his leisurely coffee time and providing his crops with the sound of his footsteps. Clank. Kekihit Kang. Hey, this is fun. Fenrir, who had woken up feeling great after a feast of dried sweet potatoes in the void storage, dashed out. He had 5 pieces of dried sweet potato snack stuck in his mouth. You can't even eat them all. Sejun got up to take the snacks from Fenrir's mouth, as it was obvious that he would come complaining of a stomachache later. Just then, crash! A glass bottle that Fenrir had been playing with earlier rolled out from the void storage and shattered on the floor. Kaying. That was what I was playing with earlier. Realizing he had done something wrong, Fenrir hurriedly hid his body. However, being a hunter and never one to hide, Fenrir, the god-hunting wolf and the first seed of apostles of destruction, was not used to concealing himself. Blackie, what did you do inside? Sejun caught him easily, since Fenrir was only hiding his eyes with a 5-colored bean leaf. And then, since you broke the glass bottle, I'm confiscating these. Kaying. Those are mine. As a punishment for causing the accident, Sejun took 4 of the 5 pieces of dried sweet potatoes that Fenrir had been munching on. SSSRK. A noise came from the spot where the glass bottle had broken. Hug. When Sejun looked towards the sound and saw a brown bean pod at the end of the 5-colored beans, fully matured and ready to be harvested. What is this? Sejun picked the brown bean pod. You have harvested a kidney bean of soil fertility. A message appeared. Kidney bean of soil fertility. It was a bean with a name he had never seen before. It was a new variety. And then, was that the mutagen elixir? Sejun realized what had been in the glass bottle that just broke. My 300 billion tower coins. Thud, thud. Meanwhile, Fenrir quickly moved and hid again. Kekihit Kang. Hey, I won't get caught this time. Fenrir, covering even his ears with a leaf, was confident he had hidden perfectly. Chapter 362. I wish Leanim would come once more. Sejun first checked the options for the kidney bean of soil fertility. TL. And I translated it as mental strength bean, but I have changed it to kidney bean of soil fertility. The previous translation was also correct, but the Korean term used had more than one meaning, and based on below context it's the other meaning, and not the previous one that I had translated earlier. Kidney bean of soil fertility. Beans grown in the Black Tower. They are delicious and full of nutrients. Cultivated by a farmer familiar with farming, they have improved in taste and efficiency. Especially, they grow well even in barren lands, and have an outstanding ability to restore the vitality and fertility of barren lands. When consumed, muscles develop well in the body. However, excessive consumption may lead to overdevelopment of muscles. Cultivator, Tower Farmer Park Sejun. Expiration date, 150 days. Grade A. True to the name of the kidney bean of soil fertility, they had an excellent ability to enhance soil vitality. However, since most of Sejun's fields were well maintained and had high vitality. Oh, it says eating this helps build muscle well. Sejun focused on the consumption options. As soon as he saw it, he thought of where to sell them. Straight to earth. Millions of fitness enthusiasts would eagerly buy them, so sales were guaranteed as long as he had the goods harvested. Haha, this is going to be a big hit. Pew Hut, Chairman Park, it smells heavily of money, meow. Theo chimed in at Sejun's remark. Ha ha ha, indeed, Vice Chairman Theo, please sell it well in the future. Pew Hut, just leave it to me, meow. Thus, Sejun and Theo laughed ominously while looking at the brown beans. To make money, we need to plant them first. Sejun planted the kidney bean of soil fertility in the vacant spot of the golden tree, stump pot of abundance. Initially, there was a 10x growth speed option, but now the pot had used up all the power of abundance, making even 2x growth speed difficult. So far, Sejun couldn't feel the power of abundance due to the threat to his life using power, abundance, but haha, now I have mugwort juice potions and 3 life orbs. Sejun's basic vitality had also greatly increased, and he had 2 safeguards. Chairman Park, I'm ready too, meow. No, he had 3. Squeeze, squeeze. Theo was diligently massaging Sejun's legs. Abundance. Sejun held a mugwort juice diluted in water in his right hand and placed his left hand on the golden tree stump pot of abundance, using the power. And gulp, gulp. You have consumed water-diluted mugwort juice of life. Your life force is restored by 10%. You have consumed water-diluted mugwort juice of life. Your life force is restored by 10%. He drank the mugwort juice potion in advance to prepare for the draining vitality. The power, abundance, is directly affecting the golden tree stump pot of abundance. The power of abundance is filled in the golden tree stump pot of abundance. Sejun's vitality was consumed, activating the power. As expected, vitality continued to drain. However, it was more than expected. His vitality decreased faster than it could be replenished by the mugwort juice potion. You are running out of vitality. A life orb is consumed. One of the life orbs was quickly shattered, as the rapidly depleting vitality was instantly replenished. Fortunately, no more vitality drained after that. You have overcome a deadly crisis. Talent, sturdy vitality causes your stamina to increase by 1. Phew, that was a bit dangerous. Sejun breathed a sigh of relief as he read the message that his stamina had increased after overcoming a deadly crisis. Then, flash. The golden tree stump pot of abundance began to shine golden again. The power of abundance was recharged. Hezeli. Sejun transferred crops for which he urgently needed seeds to the pot. After finishing the work. All right, shall we catch the troublemaker now? Sejun tried to find Fenrir, but Blackie, are you here? He discovered Fenrir in the 5-colored bean field, covering his eyes and ears with bean leaves and sticking his butt out, laughing mischievously with a pee-hee. PFT, is that your idea of hiding? Sejun burst into laughter at Fenrir's hidden appearance. He cautiously approached and started poking his exposed butt that Fenrir had pushed out. Then, Kaying, I'm going to get caught at this rate. Fenrir, using his front paws, covered his eyes and ears even more diligently. It seemed he thought that covering just his eyes and ears would allow him to hide. Hesitantly. So finding it amusing, Sejun continued poking his butt, which initially made Fenrir flinch a few times, but later, thinking he wasn't caught, he no longer reacted. Keikurorong. Instead, the sound of Fenrir's snoring was heard. Blackie, are you sleeping now? Sejun was so dumbfounded that he lost any desire to scold him. No, the desire to scold him seems to have already disappeared when he was poking his butt. You'll catch a cold like this. Sejun picked up Fenrir, who was sleeping with bean leaves covering his face, and placed him in the sling bag. By the way, the sling bag had been enchanted by Aileen to expand the interior space by 1.5 times for the enlarged Fenrir. It was only slightly expanded, because enlarging it too much could cause Fenrir to get stranded inside the sling bag. So, with Fenrir in the sling bag and Theo hanging on his leg, Sejun headed to the sticky corn field. Along the way, he found the road that had been covered in gemstones by Peblos, now cleared of all the gems. Still, since we received something, we should at least make a memorial for the benefactor, land moving. Feeling a bit sad about the cleared road, Sejun used his skill while striking the ground with Mylar's hoe. Then, Kugagung, a square stone, filling a 3.3 square meter area of the road, rose. And, Vice Chairman Theo, your claws. Got it, meow. Peepatching, holding Theo's front paw. Sag. He engraved letters onto the center of the stone, using dragon claws. Peblos Road. To Peblos, the god of pebbles who gave us gems and left, he was a good god. In honor of the benefactor, the road was also named Peblos Road. Peblosnim would be satisfied with this, right? Sejun, with a satisfied expression, passed by Peblos Road and moved towards the sticky corn field. Keikwek. The mushroom ants thoughtlessly passed through the now deserted Peblos Road. Abundance. Having arrived at the sticky corn field, Sejun drank the mugwort juice potion and used the power on the corn. When he had used the power up to the middle of the field, Sejun, Kellyan, who was hiding somewhere, appeared and quietly called Sejun. Kellyanim, hello. Yes, Sejun, do you have any crops that can revive dead lands? Kellyan had come looking for Sejun, worried that there might not be any crops that Grave could buy. If there are no crops for Grave to buy, he won't join Dragon Market, and Kellyan can't become a VIP of Dragon Market. Crops that can revive dead lands. Yes, there are. Crops that grow well in dead lands and restore fertility. At Kellyan's question, Sejun thought for a moment and then recalled the kidney bean of soil fertility he had seen earlier. The description clearly stated they grew well in dead lands and had outstanding ability to restore fertility. Really, hahaha, I knew there would be. Kellyan, laughing heartily at Sejun's answer, hurriedly looked around and lowered his voice. But I don't have them now. I just planted them, so you have to wait. What, how long? Well, even if it's fast, it will take about 5 days. Minus 5 days, that much. I'll have to give him more alcohol. What? Never mind, then keep up the good work. Let's see about these guys, just a little more patience now. Having heard the answer he wanted, Kellyan again hid his body to avoid other dragons. As Kellyan disappeared, can I get one more golden box of abundance? While talking with Kellyan, Sejun felt inconvenienced by the slow rate of securing seeds. Or maybe upgrade the box of abundance. It was fast enough already, but as the number of crops needing to be multiplied increased, he felt constant regret. I wish Lim would come once more. Sejun briefly thought of Li, the god of abundance. Abundance. The power abundance is applied to the sticky corn. The amount of the next harvest to be borne by the sticky corn doubles. He used his power again to increase the yield of the sticky corn. Having used all his power on the sticky corn while drinking the mugwort juice potion. Abundance. Finally, he enhanced the vitality of the field itself, and then. Now it's time to prepare dinner. He headed to the cooking area to cook. Shortly after, Pipayak. Uncle, we're here. Kyung. Dad, Kyungi is here. Black Rabbit and Kyungi, who had received special training from the Minotaur King, returned together. Then, the slave of the White Tower wishes to return, saying it's time to leave work and wants to return. The slave of the Purple Tower wishes to return, saying their work is done. Messages from Ajax and Veronica, who wanted to return to the Black Tower, appeared. Everyone seemed to have a ghostly sense of dinner time. Seed Shop Headquarters. The Tower Farmer Park Sejun of the Black Tower has built a temple for you. Your divine power increases by 15. 5 of the tenant mushroom ants of Tower Farmer Park Sejun have passed through your temple. Your divine power increases by 0.0005. Park Sejun, you even made a temple for me. Peblos, glowing faintly from the increase in divine power, was moved while looking at the message. Sejun had created Peblos Road to honor the patron Peblos. It was registered as Peblos Temple, and since then, whenever someone passed the road, divinity flowed into Peblos. To think divine power could increase like this. It was a shocking event for Li and the other non-combat gods, who had previously only increased their divine power through tower coins. I'm jealous. So envious. Thanks to this, Peblos received the envy of Li and the other non-combat gods. Receiving prayers from Park Sejun. Park Sejun had built a temple for him, and the steady divinity received from that temple. I also want a temple built by Park Sejun. As Li looked at Peblos with envy, the Tower Farmer Park Sejun of the Black Tower wishes for your descent. Your divine power increases by 2. A message appeared before Li. Oh, Park Sejun wishes for my descent. Li, the god of abundance, was delighted to see the message. Above all, she was especially happy that her divine power increased by 2. To think he wanted my descent this bad that my divine power increased by 2. Technically, he wanted her to come and give him another golden box of abundance or upgrade it, but since he wished for her descent. Park Sejun is waiting for me, I must prepare to descend myself, king of farming. Li quickly issued an oracle to her believer, the king of farming, to go find Tower Farmer Park Sejun. This time, she also planned to ask him to build a temple for her too. Black Tower 4th floor. O Li, goddess of abundance, today too I diligently. Today, as usual, the king of farming grew grapes, made grape wine, sold it to hunters and made money, offering prayers to Li. On earth, Halfas had summoned all the locusts, only for them to be annihilated by the golden bat, leading to the extinction of the locusts. Thus, the demand for sturdy blade green onions had greatly decreased, but the demand for grape wine remained steady since the blood-sucking leeches were still around. Then, my child, Li responded to the prayer of the king of farming, should I offer prayers once every 2 days? Recently, Li had been responding to his prayers so frequently that the king of farming, feeling somewhat overwhelmed, thought it might be time to reduce his prayers. Is time? Time? It hadn't been long since he returned from meeting Sejun. When Li spoke again about the time, the king of farming asked with a slightly anxious voice. For some reason, he had a sad premonition that he would have to find Sejun again. And, yes, since Park Sejun wishes for my descent, go find him right away. The sad premonition was accurate. The king of farming packed the holy grape seed oil and went up the tower. Chapter 363, Making Meju. 10th Tower 1st floor. How dare you ignore my words? Stella spoke in an angry voice. She, the great silver dragon, sent a voice message directly and they still haven't come. Whatever the 10th tower's trial is, passing the trial means they have sufficient ability to come to the 10th tower. Moreover, he broke through the final trial with overwhelming results and even received the qualification to ascend to the 2nd floor as an additional reward. Yet he still hadn't come. He ignored my voice message. Grrrr. Stella gritted her teeth. Judging by his reaction, there was a high probability he hadn't even informed his mother that she was alive. Should I send it again? Sigh, it's bothersome. Stella sighed heavily. Gathering the materials to create another voice message orb was going to be quite troublesome. Black Tower, 99th floor at dawn. Kaying. Fenrir, who had woken up, crawled out while wriggling inside his home, the sling bag. Kaykila hit Kaying. Hey, I'm the most diligent. Proud of being the first to wake up, Fenrir looked down on Sejun, Theo, Black Rabbit, and Ajax, who were still sleeping. But considering that Fenrir had been asleep since last evening, it wasn't diligence. He simply wasn't sleepy because he had slept a lot. Kaying. You guys, I am the great Fenrir, the first seed of the Apostles of Destruction, the wolf who hunts gods. While Fenrir was quietly barking to boost his self-esteem. Kaying. This is faint, but it feels like my core's energy. Fenrir sensed a fragment of his core. More precisely, it felt similar to the energy of the core he had dug up and eaten before, which lacked the energy of destruction. My core. Fenrir hurried down from the bed and ran outside. Thump, thump. Following the energy, he saw the golden tree stump pot of abundance. Kaying. There it is. Fenrir barked upon seeing the crops planted in the pot. Though magic seed sowing LV9 was supposed to infuse the seeds with a tower farmer's energy to repel monsters. Kaying. My core. Some of Fenrir's core power had been infused into the energy, attracting him instead. The ability proved much more a loss than a gain, as it failed to repel monsters and only attracted Fenrir. Kaykila hit Kaying. Hey, what should I eat first? Fenrir eagerly climbed onto the pot, contemplating which crop to devour while looking at the planted crops. In that moment of consideration. But the butler planted these with effort. He felt his butler might get upset if he secretly ate them. Moreover, it would taste better if the butler cooked these rather than eating like this, right? It seemed tastier to eat what the butler had cooked. Thus, Fenrir decided to be a considerate owner, mindful of his butler's feelings. It definitely wasn't because it would taste better. It was because he was generous. I really am a good owner. Fenrir praised himself and moved to the sweet potato field. And after digging up some fresh sweet potatoes, hey, delicious. Crunch, crunch. He ate one on the spot and took the rest to his secret storage. Dig, dig. When Fenrir dug the ground, there were also dried sweet potato and other snacks he had hidden earlier. Having securely hidden the sweet potatoes in his secret storage, Fenrir then covered them back with soil. Hey, they'll never find this. Confident that he had perfectly hidden the sweet potatoes, he returned to bed and fell asleep again. Several hours later. Dedada. Kyungi, who ran to Sejun as soon as he woke up. Kyung. What is this smell? He tracked the scent of sweet potatoes coming from somewhere other than the field. And then, Kyueha Kyung. Hehe, it's food. Kyungi had discovered Fenrir's secret storage. Yawned. Yo. Pipayak. As Sejun woke up and stretched outside, Theo, Black Rabbit, and Ajax followed suit, stretching themselves. Keikirarong. Fenrir, perhaps tired from his early morning activities, was still in dreamland. At that moment, Kyueha Kyung. Hehe, good morning, Dad. Kyungi greeted Sejun with a very lively voice. Did Kyungi have a good dream? Usually before breakfast, his voice should be about 2 tones lower, but today it was strangely high. Just wait a moment. Sejun went into the kitchen to start preparing breakfast. After eating breakfast, Ajax go back, Veronica go back. Sejun sent Ajax and Veronica to the White Tower and Purple Tower for work. Kyungi is going too. Pipayak. See you later, Kyungi. Kyung. Okay. Kyungi and Black Rabbit also left the farm to meet later at the location of the Minotaur King. Once everyone had left, clicking, Sejun took 4 out of the 5 transcendent black beans from the golden box of abundance. Then he went to the brewery to start making alcohol. The dragons had been buying samyeonju steadily, and the stored samyeonju was running out. So he cooked the rice and cooled it down before mixing it with nuruk and placing it in 100 jars as the base of the brewing process. No, there was still one more task left for today. Fermentation. Using fermentation LV 1. Fermentation LV 1 slightly speeds up the fermentation process. Fermentation LV 1 slightly deepens the flavor. Your proficiency in fermentation LV 1 slightly increases. Sejun used the fermentation skill on each of the jars. A moment later. Fermentation. Using fermentation LV 1. Your proficiency in fermentation LV 1 has been filled and the level increases. When Sejun used the fermentation skill on the 100th jar, the level of the fermentation skill increased to 2. Heh, nice. Nothing had changed because the level increased, but looking at the 100 jars in front of him, he couldn't help but smile. When the alcohol in these 100 jars is ready, it would yield 10,000 bottles of samyeonju. Then the money. Should I make some more? As Sejun spoke with greed. Puhu Hut, Chairman Park, let's make more meow. Theo egged Sejun on. Should I? With the dragon market customers increasing, it seemed not a bad idea to prepare more samyeonju in advance. As Sejun was busily preparing the base for another 200 jars. Kiyang. Fenrir, who had just woken up in bed, stretched as he got up. Kaying. I'm hungry. Driven by hunger, Fenrir went looking for Sejun. He's working. Sejun was busily brewing alcohol in the brewery. Usually, he would have had no choice but to call Sejun and ask for food, but Kaykilavit Kaying. Hey, I am Fenrir, the attentive owner, and I have a secret storage. Not anymore. Thump thump. Fenrir happily ran towards his secret storage. The location of the secret storage was right next to the creator's tablet in the front yard of Sejun's house. However, Kaying, who is it? He realized someone had tampered with his secret storage. There were signs of digging. Kaying. How dare someone touch the secret storage of Fenrir, the god-hunting wolf and first seed of the Apostle of Destruction? For every single item stolen, 100 hits. I won't let it slide if I catch you. Dig. Fenrir furiously dug at his secret storage with his front paws, vowing revenge, and checked how much had been taken. Kaying. Why has it increased? Contrary to Fenrir's thoughts, there was more food in the secret storage than he had put in. Moreover, there were other snacks that weren't originally there, such as rice cakes and dried persimmons. At that moment, Kaying. This is. Fenrir found a rice cake stamped with Kyungi's paw print. It turned out Kyungi, who had discovered Fenrir's secret storage, had taken out food from his own snack bag to fill it up. That bear guy was a good one. Kaying. But what should I do now? He had said 100 strikes for each stolen item, but if they put food in like this, do I get hit? Fenrir, calculating in his simple way, thought about it. Kaying. No. After thinking for a moment, Fenrir remembered Kyungi's formidable strength and shook his head. Kaying. Let's just spare him once. Deciding to spare Kyungi, Fenrir took out 2 pieces of dried sweet potato and then covered the secret storage again. And then, chomp. He ate the dried sweet potato diligently and fell asleep again. Keikirorong. He's still sleeping, isn't he hungry? Having finished preparing the base for 300 jars and stepping out of the brewery, Sejun looked at Fenrir snoring on the ground. Somewhere in between, he had gotten up and snacked on his own because his belly was full again. Sejun picked up Fenrir and placed him in the slingback. "Chairman Park, I'm hungry, meow." Theo, who was clinging to Sejun's leg, said. "All right, let's eat." Sejun sat on the chair with good sunlight and, "Numb. You have consumed Alien's healthier meatball piece. You must eat all the remaining pieces to gain its effects. 99 pieces remaining." He ate the meatball given by Alien and fed Theo some churu while he sat on his lap. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Theo eagerly licked up the churro. Then, Pio, Theonim. From afar, Piat rushed over, urgently flying towards Theo. Piat was with Urin to inform Theo when Urin, who brought misfortune, was in danger. The fact that Piat had arrived meant, "Meow, could it be that Urin is in danger, meow?" Pio, "Yes." It meant that misfortune had befallen Urin. And then, "Pew hut, Chairman Park, I'm off to make some money, meow." For Theo, it meant an opportunity had arisen. He quickly followed Piat and went down the tower. As Theo departed, "I should get back to work too." Sejun stood up and went to the kitchen and started boiling 5-colored beans. He had been putting off a task for a while. That was making meju. Meju is a brick of dried fermented soybeans. While not consumed on its own, it serves as the basis of several Korean condiments, such as doenjang, ganjang, and gochujang. Meju is produced by pounding, kneading, and shaping cooked soybeans, and undergoes fermentation with Aspergillus oryzae and or Bacillus subtilis. Wikipedia was essential for making soy sauce, chili paste, and soybean paste. Sejun filled a black pot with 5-colored beans and water, infusing the handle with magic power to boil the beans with strong fire. In the meantime, he made ropes with green onion leaves to tie the meju. After a few hours of boiling the beans until they could be easily crushed with hands, he scooped out the beans and drained the water. When all the water from the beans was drained, "Pipayak, Uncle, I'm here. Kyung, Dad, Kyungi is here." Just in time, the helpers arrived. Just in time was a bit of a stretch since he had been waiting for them. "Hey kids, come on over." Sejun assigned Black Rabbit the task of mashing the beans and Kyungi the task of pressing the mashed beans into square mold to make meju. "Summon Ajax, summon Veronica." In the meantime, he summoned Ajax and Veronica to help with the work. Veronica tied the meju Kyungi made with rope, and Ajax was instructed to hang the tied meju from the kitchen ceiling. And then, fermentation. Sejun used the skill on the secured meju to enhance its fermentation speed and flavor, albeit slightly. Having finished making the meju, "Done, guys, let's eat." Sejun and his companions ate dinner. It was another peaceful day for Sejun. Black Tower, 15th floor. "Good, I've climbed quite a bit." The black skeleton, king of farming, climbed the tower in search of Sejun, avoiding monsters or pretending to be dead. "Now just 84 more floors to go, Sai." A sigh escaped him involuntarily. At that moment, "Hand over everything you've got." Suddenly, 5 robbers surrounded the king of farming and looted everything he had. And then, "I like the look of you, join our crying skeleton gang." The robbers, liking the appearance of the king of farming, invited him to join their gang. "What, I'd rather not." The king of farming tried to refuse, but there are no refusals. The robbers pressed a knife to the king of farming's neck. He really felt like crying now. "Okay." With no other choice, the king of farming joined the crying skeleton gang with a crying face. Chapter 364, It's 50-50, meow. "Youngest, let's head to our hideout first." "Yes." Seeing the other skeletons immediately pulling out their swords when he didn't answer right away, the king of farming quickly responded. As he followed them, "Fortunately, we're going up at least." Watching them ascend the tower, the king of farming felt slightly relieved. Then, Listen carefully, youngest. In truth, our Crying Skeleton Gang is a secret organization that aims to overthrow the bone caste system and helps the skeletons suffering from it. TL. Bone Rank Caste System explained in Chapter 150. The eldest of the Crying Skeleton Gang, with a dog bone head, proudly explained their identity. Overthrow the bone caste system, secret organization, what does that have to do with me? At the dog bone head's words, the king of farming became so dumbfounded he wanted to cry. He had to carry out Goddess Lee's orders, but it seemed he was getting entangled in something strange. Noticing the king of farming's troubled expression. Ah, seeing your crying expression, the youngest must have experienced something sad due to the bone caste system too. Indeed, he has the face of someone who's been wronged by the bone caste system. The other members of the Crying Skeleton Gang looked at the king of farming's face and were convinced he was one of their comrades. No, I'm not. The farming king inwardly shouted as he trudged behind them. When they arrived in front of a dilapidated castle on the 20th floor of the tower. This is our hideout. Open the door. Ikoto have returned. The eldest with dog bone head shouted. Kyung. Dad, good night. Pipayak. Uncle, I'm going to sleep too. Exhausted from their intense training, Kyungi and Black Rabbit went to bed right after dinner. And, Hyung, I think I need to release magic power in the tower. Please send me back. Sejun Nim, I still have tasks left to do in the tower too. Ajax asked to be sent back to the tower to raise the magic power concentration on the 99th floor of the White Tower, while Veronica wanted to go back to plant the detoxifying green onion. All right. After sending the two back, the only one left by Sejun's side was Fenrir, who until just a moment ago was sleeping and had now woken up brimming with energy. Kakilahit Kaying. Haha, this is delicious. Fenrir ate a few bites of the bean soup Sejun made by mixing milk and beans, and intermittently did joyful jumps as he ate energetically. Haha, he's eating well. Sejun watched Fenrir enjoy the bean soup with a pleased smile. Your soul is filled with the outpouring of praise. Mental strength increases by 1. You have reached 100 mental strength stat points. Your very faint will is starting to have a very subtle influence on the world. Mental strength increased by 1 and reached 100. What? My very faint will has a very subtle influence. Just say it's too trivial to make any difference. Sejun, who had been deceived by hopeful messages several times, didn't fall for it this time. Still, he did hold a celebration for reaching 100 mental strength stat points. Here, take this gift for being the 100th customer. Kaying. Yellow and chewy thing. Thanks to this, Fenrir received a piece of dried sweet potato. After giving the gift to Fenrir, Sejun took a walk around the farm to help with digestion. Then, the tower's administrator says that the purification of Fenrir's core fragment is complete. Aileen sent Sejun the purified fragment of Fenrir's core. Aileen, thank you. Receiving the core fragment, Sejun immediately checked its options. Purified fragment of Fenrir's core. This is a fragment of Fenrir's core, the god-hunting wolf and the first seed of apostle of destruction. Contains 1% of the complete core's power. The power of destruction within has been completely removed, and the power that was in the core has been greatly reduced. Upon consumption, all stats increase by 100,000. If there are other fragments of Fenrir's core nearby, they will be attracted to each other. Usage restriction. All stats must be over 500,000. Grade unmeasurable. Well, usage restriction requiring all stats to be over 500,000. This wasn't on a scale that he could reach through his own efforts. I should give it to Blackie as a toy. So he decided to give it to Fenrir, who gets excited whenever he sees a black orb, to use until he found a purpose for it. Since it couldn't be swallowed due to the usage restriction, it seemed like it would make a good toy. Aileen, but did you detect any other powers of destruction? The tower's administrator says that's right. Initially, Aileen had easily detected the power of destruction, so it seemed like beginner's luck that she thought the rest of the core would be quickly found. The tower's administrator says that the power of destruction is definitely detected on the 80th floor of the tower. As expected, I'll need to go to the 80th floor of the tower. Sejun hoped that Theo would bring him the land deed for the 80th floor. Just when Sejun was hopping, Theo would do his best. Kaying. My core. Feeling his core fragment, Fenrir, with a dried sweet potato in his mouth, hurriedly ran to Sejun. Blackie, did you come looking for this? Here, go play with it. When Sejun willingly gave the core fragment. Kaying. I ran over in a hurry for now, but he's giving it this easily. Fenrir was slightly taken aback. Moreover, he was torn between what to hold in his mouth, the dried sweet potato or his core fragment. If I discard this yellow and chewy thing and bite the core, the butler guy might feel slighted. This was clearly a test from the butler, curious to see how much he valued his food. Kakilahit Kaying. He, the butler guy is somewhat clever, but I am Fenrir, the god-hunting wolf and the first seed of the apostle of destruction. Such a test was too easy for him. Fenrir opened his mouth wide and bit into both the dried sweet potato snack and his core fragment at once. And, after gazing at Sejun for a moment, he ran off somewhere. Why is he acting like that? After Fenrir disappeared, the magical peanut are grateful for the farmer's footsteps and lend their strength. Magic power stat potential rises from 2891 to 2892. Sejun continued to walk around the farm. Shortly after, thump thump, Kaying. I'm sleepy. A drowsy Fenrir staggered back. His core fragment, now slobbery from how much he had chewed and sucked on it, was still in his mouth. Blackie, shall we go to sleep now? Sejun picked up Fenrir and put him into the sling bag. Kakirorong. Fenrir immediately fell asleep. Phew, I should sleep too. Sejun yawned deeply as he headed to bed. For some reason, his expression looked very solemn. And I have insomnia, and if I eat this I can sleep soundly. Holding medicinal mugwort, Sejun hypnotized himself into believing he was an insomniac, explaining why he had looked solemn. He had steeled his resolve to eat the terribly bitter medicinal mugwort. All right, let's go. Knowing that delaying would only make it harder, Sejun immediately chewed and swallowed the mugwort. Gulp. You have consumed medicinal mugwort. All stats increase by 20. Your lifespan increases by 3 months. You have consumed a bitter-tasting medicine. Talent, a medicine that's bitter is good for stamina activates. Stamina increases by 9. Exactly what I need to sleep well. Thud. After eating the mugwort, Sejun sank into slumber. Theonim, it's over there. Piat shouted while looking at a fork in the merchant passageway, connecting the 70th and 60th floors of the tower. But why does Urine always wander around like that, meow? Theo suddenly became curious and asked Piat as they entered the fork. He himself could make money, so he couldn't understand why Urine, who was always in danger, kept moving around. Pio? I just found out too. He goes around collecting the money he lent or was scammed out of. Piat explained the reason why Urine was always busily moving around. Meow, really meow. He was going around collecting money, meow. Although he often spent more money traveling than he recovered, Urine stubbornly pursued and retrieved his money. However, Urine, having a gullible nature, only succeeded in getting his money back in about 1 out of every 100 attempts. For the other 99 cases, he either went and got scammed even worse, or ended up lending even more money. While they were discussing why Urine traveled around the tower, Theonim, save me. Urine's voice could be heard from afar. Hut, Urine, wait for me, meow. Pachinku. Theo unsheathed his dragon claws. One meow slash meow. He slashed the air with his front paws, taking down the Jormungandr fragment. Clang. Piot, pick up the coins and urine. Hand over the money, meow. Pio. Yes. Yes, I will give it to you. Theo quickly finished up the cleanup. Pew hut, urine, lead the way, meow. What? I Vice Chairman Theo, no. I will help urine collect his money, meow. Theo, sensing a strong scent of money from urine today, decided to help urine collect his money together. KQick, if Theonim helps, that would be really great. The next bastard we're going to see borrowed 100 billion tower coins from me, claiming he runs a sword farm and grows swords. At Theo's words, urine excitedly chattered about how he was scammed. I can see all too well why you got scammed, meow. Theo realized that deceiving urine was a faster way to make money. But Chairman Park said to earn money honestly, meow. Remembering Sejun's words, he decided to earn money honestly. Pew hut, urine, it's going to be 50-50 split, meow. What? Where, meow? Hurry up and lead the way, meow. Yes, it's on the 40th floor. Urged by Theo, urine hurriedly led the way. All right. During sleep, 10% of your life force has been stored. 25% of the life orb has been completed. Your magic power has accumulated 0.1 over 24 hours. Your magic power has increased by 0.1. Messages appeared as soon as he opened his eyes. Heh, nice. Pleased with the efficiency, Sejun smiled contentedly and got out of bed. Shug. He marked the date on the wall and started the morning of his 383rd day in the tower. All right, everything's fine. He first went to the kitchen to check if the meju was fermenting properly and was about to start cooking when the tower's administrator says that Grandma Brachio has come to buy your goods. The tower's administrator asks you to package 20,000 crops each. Aileen spoke to him. Last time she bought 10 of each crop, but it seems she ran out quickly. Really? All right. Sejun went to the storage and sent 20,000 crops each to Aileen. After he finished sending all the crops, the tower's administrator says that Grandpa Kin has come to buy your goods. This time, the leader of the Blue Dragons, Kin, came and bought 30,000 crops and 1,000 bottles of samyeonju. Sejun sent the goods again. There are a lot of customers this morning. Sejun took a brief rest and then, when Sejun came out of the void storage with 4 out of 5 black beans from the golden box of abundance. Sejun. Ramter came looking for Sejun. Ramternim, hello. Do you have black beans? Yes, how many do you need? Just give me 3. Okay, that will be 300 billion tower coins. Right, here it is. Sejun handed over 3 Transcendence black beans to Ramter and received a money pouch. Ramternum, since your cumulative purchase amount this month has exceeded 300 billion tower coins, your Dragon Market VIP status is extended for 30 days. Extended. From his reaction, it seemed like Kaiser was the only one who knew about it. Well, he had expected as much. Yes, the monthly cumulative purchase amount. So Sejun explained how the VIP period could be extended, and how cumulative purchase amount exceeding 5 trillion tower coins could qualify someone to become a VVIP. Puahaha, there was such a thing. Amused by Sejun's explanation, Ramter laughed heartily before quietly departing so that other dragons wouldn't notice. However, Aileen, from now on, please inform customers who visit the Dragon Market about how to become Dragon Market VIPs and VVIPs. Sejun, finding it tedious to explain every time, asked Aileen to take care of it. The condition to become a Dragon Market VIP, apart from promoting the Dragon Market, was set so that one could achieve it by reaching a total cumulative purchase amount of 1 trillion tower coins. The tower's administrator says she understands. Thanks to this, all dragons using the Dragon Market became aware of the VIP and VVIP grades and how to maintain these statuses. Chapter 365. This is a locked room case, meow. 40th floor of the Black Tower. Theonim over there. Leading the way, Yurin pointed towards a shabby farm in the distance. Meow, is it for real, meow? Where Yurin pointed, 10,000 swords were orderly embedded upside down in the ground. There really was a sword farm. And believing in the ridiculous idea that swords could be grown, a single weasel was energetically running around, watering the swords. It was still unclear whether this was a scam or just a failed business venture. However, from afar, the swords looked severely rusted to the extent that they appeared red. Then, Theonim, look over there. They were originally the size of daggers, but it seems they've almost fully grown now. Yurin spoke in an excited voice as he looked at the 10,000 rusted long swords stuck in the ground. Thanks to that, Theo became certain again. Yurin got scammed, meow. Swords growing, meow, that made no sense. He's a real sucker, meow. I want to easily make money by scamming Yurin, meow. In Theo's mind, 100 ways to easily obtain gold through scams came to mind. But I can't do that, meow. I, Vice Chairman Theo, am the assistant to the great detective Sherlock Sejun, meow. I cannot compromise with crime, meow. Thinking of Sejun, Theo steeled his heart once again, while Theo was steadying his momentarily shaken resolve. Hey, Tolt. Yurin called out authoritatively to the brown weasel, Tolt, who owed him a 100 billion tower coins. Since he came to collect the money, Yurin was in a dominant position. At that moment, just when Yurin called him, Tolt tripped and fell to the ground. Tolt, are you okay? Yurin's voice became softer, thinking it was his call that made Tolt fall. He was now talking in a lowered voice. No, it's fine, but Yurin, did you come to collect money? As you can see, my situation is. Tolt clutched his leg, making a pitiful expression. Well, I guess so. When will it be possible then? Yurin, now in a lower stance, asked Tolt when he could get the money. Well, there seems to be a lack of fertilizer, so the swords keep rusting. Until a few days ago, 10 of them were legendary grade swords. I think I need to buy more fertilizer. A legendary grade? Then how much money would you need to buy fertilizer? Yurin got excited at Tolt's words. Now it was Yurin who became desperate. No, how can I have the nerve to? No, it's okay. Just a little more and there will be 10 legendary swords. I'll lend you a bit more money. In exchange, sell those legendary swords to me. Ahem. If Yurin really insists on lending me more, just 20 billion tower coins. Is that enough? I'll just lend you 50 billion tower coins. At Yurin's words, Tolt's mouth corners slightly rose before quickly dropping. I feel so bad about this. I'm always just receiving help. We all help each other out. And later, you agreed to sell those legendary swords to me, right? I will even give you a proper price for them. Yurin comforted Tolt, who felt apologetic. A true sucker was right here. 99th floor of the Black Tower. All right, let's go. Pipayak. Kyung. At Sejun's command, Kyungi and Black Rabbit responded loudly and followed after Sejun. Today, they had not gone out in order to help Sejun harvest walnuts. Hiya. Thump. Sejun kicked the walnut tree with his foot. Then, you have harvested a training walnut. Your job experience increases slightly. Your proficiency of harvesting skill LV8 has increased slightly. You have gained 70 experience points. You have harvested a special training walnut. With each message, walnuts fell to the ground, some of which were special training walnuts. Pipayak. It's a race, Kyungi. Kyung. All right, Kyungi will win. Black Rabbit and Kyungi quickly picked them up. Thump thump. In the meantime, Sejun kept kicking the walnut trees to drop more nuts. Due to Sejun's weak strength, he had to kick each tree at least 10 times. While he was kicking a tree, thunk, hug. Among the falling walnuts, a red walnut caught his eye. It's a new variety. Sejun had a hunch, but no additional message appeared. What's this? Something like a special training walnut. Curious, Sejun picked up the red walnut from the ground and checked its options. Hell training walnut. A walnut grown in the tower with a rare chance of appearing, and is delicious from absorbing sufficient nutrients. This walnut has a harder shell than the special training walnuts. Each time you crack the shell, your strength increases by 50. It tastes even nuttier. Cultivator, Tower Farmer Park Sejun. Shelf life, 150 days. Grade A. Hell training. Even harder than special training walnuts. Sejun, whose competitive spirit was aroused by the description, put strength into his hand holding the hell training walnut. Crack. The hell training walnut endured at first, but as Sejun, with a strength in the 1400s, applied more force, the red walnut shell cracked, making a crisp sound. You have cracked the shell of the hell training walnut. Strength increases by 50. It's definitely nuttier, Sejun remarked as he cracked the red shell and ate the contents. Thump thump. Sejun continued to kick walnut trees and harvest walnuts. A little while later. Done. After dropping all the walnuts, Sejun, along with Black Rabbit and Kyungi, began collecting them. From 9 walnut trees, he harvested 7 hell training walnuts. Given that a single tree yielded about 1,000 walnuts, it was indeed a rare occurrence. As Sejun was picking up the walnuts, crunch, crunch, the sound of cracking walnuts could be heard from somewhere. Huh. Sejun followed the sound and saw. Hathy Kaying. Heh, I'll become stronger if I crack this. Fenrir was cracking training walnuts with his dragon teeth. Even though his strength only increased slightly, it was significant for the sunfish Fenrir. Kaying Kaying. Good, on to the next one. Instead of eating the cracked walnuts, Fenrir rushed towards another one. Then he bit into a special training walnut. Crunch. His weak dragon teeth couldn't crack the hard shell of the walnut. Kaying. Why won't this crack? I am Fenrir, the god-hunting wolf and the first seed of the Apostle of Destruction. Despite Fenrir's threats and efforts, the special training walnut remained intact. Just another day for the hapless Fenrir. Blackie cracked this one instead. Amused by Fenrir's foolishness, Sejun sneakily swapped the special training walnut with a training walnut. Crunch. Kaying. I knew I am strong. Thanks to this, Fenrir was brimming with confidence again today. While Urin was voluntarily offering to pay 50 billion tower coins to Tolt. That cunning guy, meow. Theo saw through the cunning behind Tolt's cute face. How? Well, his face just looked like that. On top of that, the meticulous acting of deliberately falling when Urin called earlier. It seemed getting a confession out of him would be quite tricky. But, Pew Hut, no need to worry, meow. At times like this, Detective Sherlock Sejun said to scold with evidence, meow. Theo had once heard about advanced investigative techniques while playing detective with Sejun. Pew Hut, it's time for Assistant Theosin to shine, meow. Piat, listen carefully, meow. This is a locked room case, meow. Theo stretched out his right front paw towards his right front paw man, Piat, and exclaimed, Pio, a locked room case. Upon hearing Theo's words, Piat looked around. There's no locked room here. That's right, meow. Chairman Park said that most cases happen in locked rooms, meow. Now let's find that locked room, meow. Theo's method of searching for a locked room was baseless. Theo started scanning the surroundings with his front paws mimicking binoculars. Pio. So we need to find a locked room. Piat also tried to mimic Theo's front paws with his wings and started searching for the hidden locked room. Then, Pew Hut found it, meow. Luckily, Theo actually found a real locked room. Creak. As Theo opened the entrance of the locked room disguised as a rock. Hey, Tolt, did that pig leave? He, that pig. I bet he can't even imagine that we're keeping watch at the entrance. That pig should at least say something if he's coming. Look, how hastily we planted longswords because of that pig. Tolt, how much did you manage to swindle off this time? Thinking Tolt was back, the weasels eagerly chattered, proudly confessing their crimes. Inside the locked room, the table was laden with food and drinks, seemingly for a party, and gold scammed from urine was everywhere. "Hey, Tolt, why aren't you answering?" "Yeah, why are you so quiet?" Usually, Tolt would quickly come down to brag about how he scammed urine, but his silence made the weasels look toward the entrance. However, Pewhut. Instead of Tolt, it was Theo looking down at them with a sly grin. The locked room became quiet, as the weasels hastily tried to reach for their weapons. "You'll get in trouble if you attack, meow." Snap! Theo unsheathed his dragon claws and struck the air towards the locked room, making a thud sound as a fist-sized hole formed in the wall. The hole was so deep that its end was not visible. It was one of Theo's new skills, one meow punch. Gulp! The weasels froze, realizing they were up against a formidable opponent, and there was nowhere to escape in the locked room. "Pewhut, all of you come out, meow." As Theo watched the weasels coming out of the locked room. "Pio, stamp it." Piat took out slave contracts and collected the weasels' prints. "Pio, Theonim, I got them all." Once all the paw prints were collected, a total of 107 slave contracts were completed. "Now go back and bring the gold, meow." "Yes." The enslaved weasels obeyed Theo's command and went back into the locked room to start filling Theo's bag with gold. "Thank you. I'll make sure to grow legendary-grade swords and pay back all the money I borrowed." "Yes, please do." "Of course, you can count on me." Tolt, having received 50 billion tower coins, patted the anxious Urin's shoulder and spoke. The power dynamics were completely reversed at some point. "I can scam him again by promising to sell legendary-grade swords." As Tolt was smiling bitterly and planning his final big score. "What?" Tolt's eyes widened as he saw the companions Urin had brought along, tying up his colleagues like dried fish on a string and dragging them over. "Why are you guys there?" "I'm doomed." The moment Tolt saw his colleagues captured, he turned to flee without a second thought for anything else. But his body wouldn't move. Take. Instead, rough breathing was heard nearby. At some point, Urin had grabbed Tolt's shoulder tightly. Just as Tolt realized he was doomed seeing Theo dragging the weasels, Urin intuitively understood that he had been scammed, though he still didn't know exactly what scam he had fallen for. After capturing Tolt and making him confess the scam, and getting the print on the slave contract, Pewhut, Urin, hand over 75 billion tower coins, meow. Theo charged Urin a 50-50 fee, including the 50 billion tower coins he had just been scammed out of. "Yes, here you go, as expected from Theonim." Urin handed over the money, looking at Theo with respectful eyes. "Pewhut, Urin, next SLA, no, I mean, guide me to the next guy who owes you money, meow." Having received 75 billion tower coins and gaining 108 weasel slaves, Theo called out cheerfully. "Yes, the next one we're visiting sold me a tree that grows tower coins for 300 billion tower coins." Urin led Theo to the next scammer, who had sold him the money-growing tree. Chapter 366, Pewhut. Just as Sherlock Sejun said, the culprit came back to the crime scene, meow. 20th floor of the Black Tower. "Hey, youngest, do you know why I, a lower bone rank, aim to overthrow the bone rank caste system?" Kodo, the leader of the Crying Skeleton Gang and the master of the Shoddy Skeleton Castle on the 20th floor, asked the king of farming. Chug, as he gently placed his right hand on the sword handle. "No, I don't know." "How would I know that?" The king of farming shrank his neck, intimidated by Kodo's actions. Honestly, he wasn't curious at all. He is a priest tasked with following the orders of the goddess of abundance, Li. He didn't have time to casually join a revolution right now. "Just let me go." The king of farming swallowed what he really wanted to say. After all, a sword could fly towards his neck if he did. "Of course, you're the youngest, you wouldn't know." "Then why did you ask when you knew?" "Listen carefully, youngest." Kodo began to explain with a voice filled with nostalgia. It was exactly 77 days ago. On the 99th floor of the Black Tower, the Wizard Tower opening ceremony was held. Since Iona, the destructive wizard, invited them, most of the named monsters in the Black Tower attended. They couldn't refuse, for fear of what might happen later. Kodo wasn't personally invited, but he attended the ceremony to serve Kerr, the ruler of the 93rd floor of the tower, and his son Burr, who were nobles. And that's where I met him. Ordered by higher-ranking skeletons, Kodo commanded a common bone to offer bones. However, during a scuffle, I ended up losing my right arm bone to that common bone, and I was severely beaten with my own arm bone. TL. If you don't remember, the bone cast is like this: sacred bone, true bone, noble bone, common bone, mixed bone, and true bone, and above are called nobles. Later, other noble and higher bones intervened, but they ended up pulverized by a bear following the common bone and are still recovering. At first, I was angry about being hit by the common bone, but seeing other noble and higher bones turn to dust opened my eyes. Kodo said he realized then. What does it matter if he's a common bone? If one is strong, that's all that matters. Such an outdated bone rank system is unnecessary. Thus, after returning to the 20th floor, Kodo formed the Crying Skeleton Gang and began gathering like-minded comrades. That common bone was him. He executed the noble and higher bones and then vanished. And this right arm is the glorious arm he swung then. Would you like to touch it? Clatter. Kodo proudly extended his right arm. He wanted to say no, but saying no would surely provoke Kodo to draw his sword. So the king of farming merely pretended to touch Kodo's right arm. How is it? Kodo asked with anticipation. What is it? Doesn't it ignite your passion for overthrowing the bone rank system? Yes. The safe answer was predetermined. Thus, the king of farming learned the story behind the founding of the Crying Skeleton Gang. Soon, we will attack Noble Door's skeleton castle on the 76th floor to overthrow the bone rank system. Kodo shared his future ambitions. At that moment, Katanim floor climbers are approaching. A lookout from the Crying Skeleton Gang reported the approach of hunters. Great, let's show the skills of our Crying Skeleton Gang. Yes. Clatter, clatter. Following the shout, Kodo and the other 4 subordinates collapsed their bodies. They were pretending to be dead. Clatter, clatter. The king of farming hurriedly followed suit and pretended to be dead as well. And, who beat him up? He resented the common bone who walked around with a bear, making Kodo harbor such odd thoughts of overthrowing the bone rank system. 99th floor of the Black Tower. You have harvested 20 power sweet potatoes. Your job experience increases slightly. Your proficiency of harvesting LV8 has increased slightly. You have gained 1,400 experience points. Sejun finished harvesting walnuts and was now harvesting sweet potatoes. And next to him, Black Rabbit and Kyungi sat on the ground with a thud, wrapping the sweet potatoes Sejun had harvested with leaves and putting them into the campfire. They were in the process of making more roasted sweet potato snacks as their supply had run out. Kivit Kang. I'm also making the yellow and chewy thing. To help make roasted sweet potato snacks, Fenrir also pulled on a sweet potato vine planted in the ground with all his might. However, snap! The vine snapped before the sweet potato could come out, and Fenrir, unable to control his own strength, rolled around for a while. Kang. I won't give up. Fenrir refused to give up. Fenrir rolled on the ground a few more times. Kang. I'm good at digging too. Thinking this wouldn't do, he started digging up sweet potatoes from the ground. His whole body turned completely black from the dirt. A bath was definitely in order. As everyone was busy with their tasks. Gurgle. Kyung. Dad, Kyungi is hungry. Kyungi's stomach clock signaled it was lunchtime. We'll have some roasted sweet po. Just as Sejun was about to suggest, eating roasted sweet potatoes. 10 plump drought-inducing watermelons have been stored in the temporary storage of the Blue Tower. The temporary storage of the Blue Tower is full. A message appeared. It seemed that Zelga had harvested the drought-inducing watermelons. Given that the storage was full with just 10 watermelons, they must be quite heavy. Watermelons. Transport. Curious about their taste, Sejun immediately transported them. Transporting them from the Blue Tower, which was as far as the Green Tower, cost him 8 million tower coins. Shortly after, poof! A bright pillar of light fell in front of Sejun, and 10 huge watermelons appeared. Wow, they're really big. Sejun was startled by the watermelons that were 3 meters in size. But the surprise was brief. Crack! Sejun brought over the amplifying greatsword and sliced one of the watermelons in half. Though the length of the sword was 2 m long, the sword energy effectively compensated for the lack of length and cut through the watermelon. It was the effect of intermediate swordsmanship LV. 5. Then he cut the half watermelon into smaller, bite-sized pieces. Due to its enormous size, he had to cut it into hundreds of pieces. Though there was an option that said consuming it would raise all stats by 20, it was far too much for him to eat alone. He decided to make watermelon punch later, and with that cooking skill will allow him to gain effects proportionate to the amount eaten. But today, he simply enjoyed the natural taste of the watermelon. Kyungi, eat this. Sejun gave an uncut half of the watermelon to Kyungi, who could eat a lot. Kyung. Has it good? Crunch, crunch. Kyungi happily dug into the watermelon following Sejun's suggestion and went inside the watermelon. Let's eat too. Sejun shared the bite-sized watermelon pieces with Black Rabbit and Fenrir. Pipayak. Uncle, it's super sweet and refreshing. Kaying. Sweet, refreshing, delicious. Try some too, Aileen. Sejun sent a whole watermelon to Aileen and enjoyed the delicious watermelon with his companions. After filling up their stomachs with watermelon, please try this. He gifted 1 drought-inducing watermelon each to Kaiser, Ramter, and Tyr. It was meant as a suggestion to use these in the future. Is this only for VIPs? Expected, being a VIP sure is nice. Haha, poor Kellyan. Kellyan was nowhere to be found, so he only gave it to the 3 of them, but he didn't bother to mention it. I'll have to send some through Ajax later. After giving the dragons the watermelons. Now let's take a bath. Sejun took his group to the bathhouse. Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Fenrir had all eaten watermelons, getting their fur sticky with juice, making it clump together and look messy. Kaying. Hey, look at the majestic swimming of the noble Fenrir. Thanks to that, they could watch Fenrir dog paddle joyously splashing water everywhere. 35th floor of the tower. Theonim, we are here. Urin brought Theo to a tree growing atop a sharp cliff. Urin, where is the scammer, meow? Theo looked around and asked. I don't know where the scammer is, so we came here. This is the tree I was scammed with. Urin pointed at the tree and explained. Still, the fruit tastes quite good, Yuha. Despite being scammed out of 300 billion tower coins because of the tree, Urin praised the taste of its fruits with a laugh. It seemed like having an ultra-positive mindset might be one of the essential conditions for being a sucker. Then, Hut, Urin, that's the spirit, meow, because the culprit is bound to come back to the crime scene, meow. Theo, following what he learned from Detective Sherlock Sejun, exclaimed as he recited this. So search the area, meow. Theo formed round glasses with his front paws and searched the tree, and Pio. Yes. Piat and Urin, taking the lead from Theo, also formed glasses with their wings and hooves to search the tree. However, Urin hadn't mentioned one thing. It had been about 10 years since he was scammed. Even if the culprit had come, they would have long gone by now. So there was nothing to find by searching the tree. But Hut found it, meow. Theo, luckily, discovered the use of this tree. Chairman Park will like this, meow. Theo enthusiastically started collecting the jujubes from the jujube tree into his bundle. As Theo picked the jujubes, Piot and Urine also stopped searching and followed Theo in picking them. While they were all happily picking jujubes from within the tree. Look, this is the tree that bears gold. A cunning voice came from beneath the tree. A tree that bears gold. This is a jujube tree, meow. When Theo looked in the direction of the voice, a gray skunk appeared. Theonym, that's the guy who sold me this tree. Seeing the skunk, Urine signaled to Theo with his foot. 10 years. It was the right time for a scammer who had scammed Urine and disappeared to come out of their hiding to scam once again. Pew hut. Just as Sherlock Sejun said, the culprit came back to the crime scene, meow. Theo confirmed once again that Sejun's words were the truth. Then, but where is the gold, ba? A familiar voice was also heard. It was Mimmer, the legendary merchant Golden Sheep. That's because it's not yet the season for the gold to bear. You'll have to wait a year. Is that so? Then let's talk again when the gold grows. Wait a minute. Although the scammer called out, Mimmer left the cliff without any hesitation, her footsteps sounding in retreat. As expected, she's not easily fooled. That pig back then paid right away. It seemed the scammer knew that fools like Urine, who are easily deceived, are valuable. As the scammer was acknowledging Urine's value. Quick! Thump! Urine, who had been hiding in the jujube tree, leaped to the ground. Found you, Sejun, you scammer. He shouted towards the gray skunk Sejun. Ah, Urine, it's good to see you. Sejun, a skilled scammer, was briefly flustered, but soon embraced Urine as if truly pleased to see him. What, pleased to see me? You dare say that after scamming me like that? Urine pushed Sejun away as he yelled. Ah, I'm sorry. Actually, I mistakenly sold you another tree at that time and have been looking for you. Sejun said in an apologetic tone. Really? Yes. Instead, I'll give you this tree that bears gold. You must have heard just before, but gold will grow in just 1 year from now. Sejun spoke as if he was giving Urine the tree, even though Urine had already paid for it. But I didn't mention it to Mimi and him earlier, but there is a way to make it bear gold tomorrow. Oh really, what is it? You bury 1 ton of gold in the ground. He began a new scam. Pew hut, he's good, meow. Theo cheered for Sejun from atop the jujube tree, who was raising his commission. Swish. Next to him, Piot also pulled out a slave contract. Chapter 367, Pew hut. With just this level of fart, it's impossible to beat Chairman Park's shit smell, meow. Black Tower 40th floor. A black pig stepped foot on the sword farm. However, there was no one at the farm. Even the usual places where weasels usually stayed were carefully inspected, but they were empty too. Is the rumor true that Urine Nim got money from Tolt and the guys and turned them into slaves? The rumor seemed credible enough to check, since the scene corroborated the unbelievable rumor. If Urine managed to get 100 billion tower coins from Tolt, then the remaining money would be 49.9 trillion tower coins. Originally, Urine was just a pig born into an enormously wealthy family. From a young age, Urine showed potential as a pushover, readily lending money or getting scammed, with the amounts growing over time. Before long, the amount Urine lent and lost to scams exceeded 1 trillion tower coins. Then the elders of the family insisted that Urine's father, Udo, could not just let this go on. Though it was a trivial amount considering the family wealth, it was a scheme to build justification to usurp the next head of the family position. But Udo also thought it wasn't right to just leave Urine be for his future's sake. As the head of the demon family, I declare this. Urine, don't even think about coming home until you've recollected all the money you've lent and lost in scams. Thus, pretending to acquiesce to the elders' demands, Udo kicked out Urine, empty-handed, by the solemn command of the family head. The thought was that if the son suffered a bit, he would realize the value of money and his pushover nature would weaken. Of course, he didn't expect Yurin to get back the entire 1 trillion tower coins. If Yurin managed to bring back around 100 billion tower coins, he planned to persuade the elders and allow Yurin to come home, pretending to give in. Of course, it would be tough for Yurin alone, so he was prepared to send someone to help midway. However, Yudo didn't foresee what happened next. Yurin awakened the talent, Midas Touch, which could turn his weight in eaten food into gold. Thanks to this, Yurin exploded with naivety, and far from retrieving money, he ended up lending more and getting scammed even further. Even if he wanted to help, Yurin had become a full-fledged pushover too quickly, and it became difficult to approach him due to his misfortune. 10 years after Yurin was kicked out from home, Yurin, now bearing the empty title of legendary merchant, needed to reclaim 50 trillion tower coins to return home. As a result, whenever news of Yurin lending money or being scammed reached him, Yudo regretted his decision and fell ill. So recently, he had been keeping news about Yurin from reaching his ears. And this black pig himself was a tracker hired secretly by Yurin's mother, Hamie, to hear news about Yurin. That pushover young master finally managed to get some money back. Hamie and him would be pleased. Black Pig Dave rushed to find Hamie with the information he had gathered. As Dave was about to deliver the joyful news about Yurin to Hamie, "I've buried a ton of gold." Yurin, still getting scammed, shouted after burying a ton of gold under the jujube tree, just as the gray skunk Sejun said. "All right, but the tree bears gold only when left alone, so let's leave now and come back tomorrow morning. I'll just do some pruning to ensure the gold grows well and then leave." Anyone could see it was a shallow ploy to take the buried gold once Yurin left. "Understood, let's go Theanim, tomorrow morning." Yurin responded as Sejun suggested and called for Theo. Just then, "Pewhut, that's enough, meow." Tag. As Yurin was clearly getting scammed, Theo, having finished calculating his fee, performed a heroic landing with a triple flip in the air from the jujube tree. Pio. Tag. Piat also followed Theo and landed in a heroic pose. "Pewhut, Yurin, now half of that gold is mine, meow." Theo, having landed stylishly, pointed at the spot where the gold was buried and declared boldly to Yurin. "What, why?" Yurin asked with a clueless expression. "Pewhut, because Yurin, you got scammed again, meow. Half the gold is a 50-50 fee, meow." It's not a scam." Slap. "Come to your senses, meow. This is a jujube tree, meow. Gold can't grow on it, meow." Theo slapped Yurin's cheek as he exclaimed. That's true. Gold on a jujube tree, I was scammed, was I?" Yurin, still half doubting that he had actually been scammed. "Pewhut, that's right, meow. Yurin has been scammed, meow." As Theo informed Yurin that he had been scammed. "Hey, what bad luck. I was almost done scamming." Sejun, who was interrupted by Theo's arrival, started to flee hastily. He ran exceptionally well, perhaps from much practice. Sejun quickly distanced himself. "Pewhut, you can't escape from Vice Chairman Theo, meow. Let's go, Piat, meow." Theo vanished from the spot as he finished speaking, and he reappeared right beside Sejun. "Pewhut caught you, meow." Grab. Theo caught the fleeing Sejun by the nape of the neck. It was Theo's fast-moving technique, meow blink. Eat this." The gray skunk Sejun, caught by the neck by Theo, powered up his buttocks using his escape technique. Then, Piwong. A brown fart was released from Sejun's buttocks. "Kekek, this is a stench no one can overcome." Sejun imagined Theo's face twisting in pain from the stench, smirking vilely. However, Pewhut, Theo, hit directly by Sejun's fart, was smiling calmly. "Wow." Sejun was astonished to see Theo unaffected by his escape technique. "Is there something wrong with my fart?" While Sejun wondered if his fart smell was too weak. Pipieka. Piat, following Theo, spat out curse words and quickly moved away. Indeed, there was nothing wrong with his own fart. Then that guy must have no sense of smell. Otherwise, it made no sense for him to withstand his fart. It was bad luck. Of all people, he had to run into someone with no sense of smell, the worst possible match. Pew Hut. With just this level of fart, it's impossible to beat Chairman Park's shit smell, meow. But Theo scolded Sejun with a tone as if saying, "What are you trying to do with level of smell?" Having endured many of Sejun's terrible shit smells to stay by his side, such a fart was nothing to Theo. "What? There's a smell worse than my fart." Sejun, who took pride in producing foul smells, looked incredulous at Theo's comment. Meow. Theo stretched his front paws towards the sky, and a gust of strong wind arose, blowing the stench away into the sky. Pipiek. Theonim, here you go. As the stench disappeared, Piat flew over and delivered a slave contract to Theo. Pew Hut, stamp it, meow. Theo pressed for Sejun's footprint as he captured the scammer Sejun. Pew Hut, as expected, Chairman Park is amazing, meow. Theo praised Sejun for making it easy to catch Sejun, thanks to his shit smell. Thus, Sejun scored a mysterious victory against Sejun. However, it was probably best he didn't know he had won. Pew Hut. Urine, this time it's 0.5 tons of gold and 150 billion tower coins, meow. Yes, I'll give it to you. Urine took out the money and settled the account. What next, meow? Guide me, meow. With money earned and spirits high, Theo urged Urine. Yes. At Theo's urging, Urine started leading the way. Urine's next destination was originally the 31st floor of the tower. He planned to go after the scammer who had sold him a completely ineffective stone, claiming it was a charm that protected against scams, for 50 billion tower coins. However, seeing Theo's skill in reclaiming money, Urine gained courage. With Theonim, we can get the money back from those guys. Thus, he decided to seek out those he had almost given up on getting money from and had blacklisted. I might even be able to go home now. Urine guided Theo with a bright smile. Pew Hut. I'll earn even more money and monopolize Chairman Park's knees, meow. Theo, buoyed by the expectation of monopolizing Sejun's knees for a long time, also followed with a bright expression. Pew Hut. Theonim is smiling. He must be pleased with my assistance. Thanks to this, Piat could also smile brightly. Black Tower, 99th floor. Sejun, who took a bath, drank banana milk and took a long nap. Transport. 25,000 vibrant life mugworts and 20,000 vibrant magical mugworts have arrived. He spent 8 million tower coins to bring mugwort from the Green Tower. Kyungi, let's squeeze it. Kyung. Got it. Pipayak. I want to squeeze too. Kyungi and Black Rabbit made mugwort juice. After producing 2.5 liters of life mugwort juice and 2 liters of magic mugwort juice. Here, keep these. Use them when it's dangerous. He prepared 10 bottles each of life mugwort juice potion and magic mugwort juice potion, adding a bit of water to the 17 ml of mugwort juice to make it easier to drink, and handed them to Kyungi and Black Rabbit. As Kyungi's juicing skills improved, they could now recover 6% of life and magic power per 1 ml of mugwort juice. After preparing the mugwort juice potions for the two, Sejun mixed the mugwort juice with rice flour to make dough. Since the mushroom ants couldn't drink from glass bottles, he decided to make the juice into pills, which were easier to consume. He shaped the dough, now turned red with life mugwort juice and blue with magic mugwort juice, into bite-sized pieces. You have achieved the feat of making life mugwort pills for the first time in the tower. You have achieved the feat of making mana mugwort pills for the first time in the tower. Cooking achievement messages appeared. The cooking effect enhanced the effects of the ingredients, improving the effects of the mugwort pills. Use them when in danger. Kwek. After distributing a total of 2,000 of both types of mugwort pills to the representative of the mushroom ants, Kaying. Hey, give me some too. Fenrir, who had gently sat in front of Sejun, barked, asking for some too. Do you want some too, Blackie? Kaying. Give it here. All right. Sejun later gave some mugwort pills for Fenrir to eat. Chomp tui. Kaying. This is bitter, I can't eat this. Fenrir, tasting the bitterness, spat out the mugwort pills and barked fiercely. He couldn't tolerate even a bit of bitterness. Pew Hugh Hut. Indeed, you don't know the bitterness of life because you're young. After scoffing at Fenrir, the oldest apostle of destruction who couldn't handle bitterness, Sejun gave him a dried sweet potato to chew on. Chomp chomp chomp. Keelivit kaying. Hahe, as expected, the yellow and chewy ones are the tastiest. While Fenrir enjoyed the dried sweet potato, Sejun prepared dinner. For dinner, he made rice flour dumplings mixed with the mugwort powder that Kyungi had made while juicing the mugwort. Shortly after, Sejun skewered 3 mugwort dumplings each, piled them onto a plate and brought it to the table. Next to the plate, he placed a bowl filled with bean paste and honey so everyone could dip their dumplings if they wished. With dinner preparations complete, summon Ajax, summon Veronica. He summoned Ajax and Veronica, who insisted on eating dinner only in the Black Tower. Then, guys, let's eat. He called the group together for dinner. Kyung. It's so delicious. Of course, it's made by Sejun Hyunam. Right, Sejunam, your cooking is the best. Yeah, eat a lot. Your soul is filled with overflowing praise. Mental strength increases by 1. Hezeli. As Sejun was encouraging his companions to eat more, observing the messages. Kaying. I want to dip and eat too. Fenrir put the dumpling he was holding in his mouth into the bowl of honey. Naturally, the dumpling sank, and Fenrir put his face into the bowl to retrieve his dumpling, resulting in honey sticking all over the fur around his mouth. Keelivit kaying. Ha, it's delicious. Fenrir gleefully licked the honey off his face, savoring the taste. At that moment, Blackie, you need a bath. Seeing Fenrir, who quickly became a scruffy mess, Sejun commented. No, I just had one. Bath was one of the few words Fenrir understood. Fenrir sneakily buried his face among the dumpling skewers, hiding his body. Keelivit kaying. Hey, I won't get caught this time. Fenrir was confident as he hid again, perfectly covering his eyes and ears while hiding this time too, but... Hesse, Blackie, are you hiding here? Sejun caught him by the nape and carried him off to the bath. Kaying. I was sure I hid well, why do I keep getting caught? Today too, Fenrir was frustrated, not understanding why he got caught. Chapter 368, Just the Right Prey. All right. Sejun opened his eyes on the bed. It took longer this time. He said, looking at his own knees. It felt empty without Theo. But habit is a scary thing, so Sejun got up as usual and added another mark on the wall to indicate her day's passing. It was the morning of day 384 in the tower. As Sejun moved, Pipayak, Hyung, Kaying, awakened by the noise, Black Rabbit, Ajax, and Fenrir followed Sejun with sleepy eyes. As Sejun stood in front of the house basking in the warm sun, the 3 lined up beside him. Yawned, Pipiak, Quaying. Together they all stretched lazily together. For reference, Ajax had fallen asleep after eating rice balls TL. Jeondan with Sejun and taking a hot bath in the bathhouse the previous day. While the 4 were stretching, Kyungi also appeared stretching. Having gathered, the 5 dispersed to each attend to their own tasks. Sejun went to the cooking area to prepare breakfast, while Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax harvested crops until breakfast was ready. Keelivit kaying. He, is my secret storeroom okay? Fenrir headed to the Creator God's tablet to check his secret storeroom. But, kaying, who is it again? There were signs that someone had tampered with his secret storeroom. Did that bear come again? Fenrir thought Kyungi had visited again, and expecting an increased stash of snacks, dug eagerly. And as Fenrir expected, the amount of snacks inside the secret storeroom had increased. However, it was Kyungi's doing. The type of snacks was different. The storeroom was filled with carrots and cherry tomatoes. Kaying, who could it be? As Fenrir looked around to find the culprit. Pipayak. Black Rabbit gave Fenrir a thumbs up. Having a keen ear, Black Rabbit knew about Fenrir's secret storeroom and had filled it with his favorite snacks. Thanks to the kind older brother taking care of the youngest snacks, Fenrir was able to fill his belly with snacks before breakfast. Kaying. I want some too, give it to me. No, how are you going to eat this with that belly? Eat later. Instead, Fenrir couldn't eat the freshly baked warm pancakes for breakfast. Kaying. Watching the pancakes cool, Fenrir decided to eat only a little snack before meals from then on and fell asleep. After finishing breakfast, Sejun took his group to the pineapple field. Ordinary pineapples could be harvested by Sejun alone, but today, they also needed to harvest the screaming pineapples. Now stronger, Sejun could sufficiently withstand the screams of the screaming pineapples. However, it was hard for Sejun alone to create a suppressed screaming pineapple, as his strength wasn't enough to keep the screams contained. If they weren't going to eat them all today, post-processing was necessary. That's why he brought his strong companions along. Then let's cut. Sejun and Ajax, who needed to raise their farming skills, harvested the screaming pineapples. Pipayak. Kyung. Black Rabbit and Kyungi pressed down on the harvested pineapples to prevent them from screaming. Thus, the suppressed screaming pineapple, harvested in pairs, were piled up in one corner of the field. After the harvest, should we try one? Sejun grabbed a pineapple and cut it in half. Screech. The screaming pineapple let out a scream accompanied by a shockwave. Ugh, my ears are ringing. Is there a way to eat this quietly? It tastes good, but it was too noisy. So he suggested to the Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax that he would give them a golden spoon as a reward if they could find a way to eat quietly. If they gave the golden spoon to Sejun, they could ask him to make any dish they wanted. Then go and research it. Sejun told the three and went to harvest ordinary pineapples. While Sejun was harvesting pineapples, Hyung, I found it. Ajax came to Sejun and cut a pineapple with a silence magic spell on it. The pineapple split quietly without any noise. However, thump, the shockwave remained the same. The shockwave is still there, so it's a fail. Ewing. Disappointed from failing, Ajax turned back. Pipayak. Uncle, I found a way too. Black Rabbit came running confidently. Then, after digging deep into the ground and burying the pineapple, Peep-up, he struck the ground with a hammer. It was an advanced technique that precisely manipulated magic to impact only the pineapple. Gugung. The impacted pineapple exploded, causing the ground to tremble slightly. As the trembling ceased, Black Rabbit dug into the ground and emerged with the pineapple split in half. There was a bit of vibration, and the method was quite cumbersome, but it was relatively quiet. Let's put it on hold for now. So they decided to see Kyungi's method before making a final decision. Then, Kyung. Dad, Kyungi won. The golden spoon is Kyungi's. Kyungi, looking confident, handed Sejun the pineapple he held in his front paws. A pineapple that became delicious after being firmly silenced 3 times. The name is different. The pineapple Kyungi held had a different name from the others. Just from the name, it was clear what Kyungi had done. He just suppressed it with strength until it quieted down. Still, it was effective as the name changed from screaming to became delicious. Let's see. Sejun checked the options of the pineapple. A pineapple that became delicious after being firmly silenced 3 times. A pineapple grown inside the tower that has absorbed plenty of nutrients and is tasty. The magic power that failed to explode 3 times lost its explosive nature and was absorbed into the pineapple's flesh, making it tastier. Consuming it increases magic power by 5. There is a low chance of awakening the talent. Endure 3 times upon consumption. Cultivator, Tower Farmer Park Sejun. Shelf life, 150 days. Grade A. Well, he could only express his amazement. So it was possible. The screams had been sublimated into taste, stats, and talent. Kyungi, you pass. Sejun handed the golden spoon to Kyungi. Then, Kyueha Kyung. Hehe, Kyungi wants to eat a bellyful of rice noodles. Kyungi immediately handed the golden spoon to Sejun, asking for the food he wanted to eat. You want to eat rice noodles until you are full. Sejun stuttered at Kyungi's request. How much do I need to make if Kyungi wants to eat his fill? Kyungi's eating quantity had decreased recently, but it was definitely not because he was full. He was restraining himself because he knew Sejun would struggle if he ate a lot. It was hard to imagine how much he could eat if he said he wanted to eat his fill. And didn't he see Kyungi recently drinking an entire lake of milk? But he understood how much Kyungi must have wanted to eat his fill if he used the golden spoon as soon as he got it. Kyungi, just trust Daddy. You don't need to do anything today, just eat. If my son wants to eat, I can at least do that much. Fortunately, it was a soup dish. Sejun, with a determined expression, took out the relic, wealth-devouring rice dough, and filled a giant black pot with rice flour. Filling the black pot used up 10 million tower coins. Ajax seal release. Sejun released Ajax's seal. The giant dough needed giant strength. Ajax needed. Okay, Hyung. Sejun instructed Ajax to knead the rice noodle dough and started preparing a large volume of broth. Hang in there, we're almost at the 40th floor. Yes. The crying skeleton gang, led by gang leader Kodo, responded energetically, working hard to climb the tower for the great task of overthrowing the bone rank caste system. However, for the 6 from the lower floors, climbing to the 76th floor of the tower was a very difficult and dangerous journey. The path was treacherous and filled with dangerous monsters. But there was something even more challenging than the monsters. Boss, we don't have money to use the merchant passageway. It was money. A considerable sum was needed to use the fast and safe merchant passageway. Moreover, they were not registered with the Merchants Association, so the fee was higher. Originally, the money that the king of farming had prepared to give to Sejun was substantial, so the crying skeleton gang, who had stolen it, should have had plenty of money. However, the crying skeleton gang ended up being robbed of all their money by other bandits along the way. If it was going to be stolen like this, why did they take my money? When his money went to other bandits, the king of farming really wanted to cry. Thus, the crying skeleton gang became penniless. Perhaps due to their name, sad occurrences seemed to happen frequently. We have no choice, prepare for business. Since they were in the same trade, the bandits didn't take their weapons, so they could still do business. Hiding their bodies and starting their main business of banditry, the crying skeleton gang waited for someone to pass by. Then a black orc passed in front of them. Boss, should we strike? Wait. As mentioned earlier, this area was dangerous for lower floor creatures because of the many dangerous monsters. They waited a long time for an easy target to appear. Pipayak. Uncle, over here. Black Rabbit had gone into the water to catch seafood to use for the broth. The Black Rabbit easily caught eels, octopus, squid, crabs, etc. as if scooping them up from a fish farm. And all of these were creatures that had lived in the dimensional sea for over 1,000 years. Sejun was able to obtain good quality seafood thanks to Flamey, who had herded the sea monsters towards the pond upon hearing that Sejun wanted seafood. Crunch, crunch. Using the amplifying greatsword, Sejun prepared a large crab and made a crab shell pot, filling it with water to boil and adding other seafood and vegetables to make the broth. Fortunately, there were enough crabs to make as many as 10 crab shell pots. Once the broth preparation was complete, Ajax. Sejun called Ajax, who was far away preparing the dough. Okay, well done, Ajax seal. Having confirmed that the rice noodle dough was properly made, Sejun sealed Ajax. And then, press. Okay, Hyung. The rice noodle dough was placed in the black noodle press and pressed to extrude the noodles. The noodles quickly cooked as they entered the boiling broth. Nearly 100 servings of rice noodles went into the crab shell pot. However, slurp. For Kyungi, 100 servings of rice noodles were just one bite. Ajax press. Sejun quickly filled the remaining 9 crab shell pots with rice noodles, and Kyungi followed, eating the noodles. It was a new concept for a noodle restaurant, where the noodles stayed still and Kyungi moved around. Sejun and Black Rabbit adjusted the seasoning of the broth, adding more water, seafood, and vegetables as needed. Thanks to that, Kyungi was able to enjoy delicious rice noodles until the end. When Kyungi had precisely made 39 rounds, Kyung. Haha, Kyungi is really full. Kyungi patted his stomach and wore a satisfied expression. And then, good work. Pipayak. Yeah, you too, Hyung. After making 39,000 servings of noodles and exhausting themselves completely, Sejun, Black Rabbit, and Ajax collapsed on the floor. I can't do this a second time. Just as Sejun was thinking about sealing the golden spoon for a while, the tower's administrator says that she found the power of destruction on the 44th floor of the tower. 44th floor. The 44th floor was where Sejun had registered a waypoint. Maybe it's time to go see the penguins again, Sejun said in an excited voice. If it was the 44th floor, which was about the middle of the tower, Theo might be nearby and could come looking for him, or he might go to him. Toryang. Sejun rode Toryang and moved to the waypoint with his companions. Black Tower 40th floor. Just the right prey. After waiting for hours for an easy target, Kodo grinned upon seeing a yellow cat, a pink pig, and a fist-sized white bird approaching from a distance. Perfect, crying pirates move out. To demonstrate his bravery as the leader, Kodo shouted and ran ahead. Pew Hugh Hud. A sinister laugh came from the opposite direction, but he deliberately ignored it, assuming they hadn't been noticed yet. Chapter 369, Locusts Are Extinct. That's the Anim. The king of farming recognized Theo coming from afar. I'm saved. I can go to Sejunim. As the king of farming rejoiced at the sight of Theo. Perfect, the crying pirates move out. Kodo and his followers dashed forward. You fools, no. The king of farming was horrified watching them, because he had personally witnessed Theo's strength while traveling with him up to the 4th floor of the tower. Clatter, clatter. Nevertheless, having spent time together, he quickly ran to save Kodo. If I speak up, Theo would surely listen. And then, I can't believe our youngest is so daring. Kodo was pleased to see the king of farming rushing ahead. He intended to let him take it easy since it was his first time, but he was working so hard. I should let the youngest shine. With a pleased expression, Kodo slowed down to allow the king of farming to take the lead. So the king of farming was at the forefront. When he got in front of the cat, instead of drawing a weapon, he tried to say something. Then, thump, clatter, clatter. The youngest was struck by the front paw of the yellow cat and shattered. Youngest, crying skeleton gang, let's avenge the youngest. Yes. Kodo and the other 4 skeletons rushed out to avenge the king of farming. Splutter. Clatter, clatter. They all ended up the same as king of farming. Meow, meow, meow. Pio, pio. Kuek, kuek. On the way to the target, at the very bottom of Urin's blacklist. Clatter, clatter. Pew, hew, hud. Theo laughed brightly seeing the skeletons running towards him with swords drawn. They're good slaves that work without food, meow. Piat. Piat also prepared a slave contract, ready to stamp it whenever Theo instructed. And then, Thump. Splutter. Theo knocked out the skeletons as they charged at him. The first skeleton tried to say something, but Theo just knocked him out. I'll make them slaves and listen later, meow. Unfortunately, all the skeletons looked alike to Theo, so he couldn't recognize the king of farming. Pio. The thumb bone. Piot picked up the thumb bone from a shattered skeleton and stamped it on the contract. As Piot collected the finger bones of the skeletons and stamped the slave contract, gathering all the bones of the crying skeleton gang. Meow. Theo suddenly looked up with wide eyes, feeling extremely happy, his mouth corners lifted and his tail flicking. Theonym, what's wrong? Chairman Park's knees are very close, meow. Responding to Urin's question, Theo shouted excitedly. Hurry and follow me, meow. Theo hurriedly ran towards where Sejun was. Pio. Yes. Theonym, let's go together. Piot and Urin ran after him. You have arrived at the 44th floor of the Black Tower. You moved from the 99th floor to the 44th floor of the tower. You have descended 55 floors. Due to the effect of tidal, retrogressor, all stats increase by 55. Sejun arrived at the waypoint of the 44th floor. Theo is nearby. Just as Theo felt Sejun's energy, Sejun also sensed Theo's energy. It seemed like he was coming closer to find him. Maybe about 30 minutes. While Sejun was calculating the time for Theo's arrival. Peng, greetings to the Great Black Dragon. The boss of the 44th floor, Emperor Penguin Gem, greeted Sejun. Gem, anything unusual on the 44th floor lately? Sejun asked as he received Gem's greeting. Peng, anything unusual? I don't think so. Gem thought for a moment before responding. Is that so, Toryang? Master. Upon Gem's response, Sejun decided to call Toryang directly to search for the power of destruction. He chose the lake where the blue-backed penguins lived as their destination. Since he had come this far, he planned to catch freshwater shrimp to make both shrimp soup and shrimp sauce. Along the way to the lake. But why aren't these guys coming out? When Black Rabbit, Kyungi, Ajax, and Fenrir didn't emerge from the void storage, Sejun, curious about what they were doing, opened it. Then, Berorong, Kurorong, Erorong. On the floor, Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax were huddled together, sound asleep. Kyungi was full, and Black Rabbit and Ajax seemed deeply asleep from exhaustion. Heta, how cute. It was a scene so adorable he wanted to capture it in a photo. Then from the back of the storage there was a rustling sound. It was obvious who it was. The culprit is the one not in sight. As Sejun quietly approached the source of the noise. Kilivit Kang. Heh, I need to put all this in my secret storage. As Sejun had guessed, there was Fenrir, surrounded by heaps of dried sweet potatoes and other snacks. A few were already eaten, as his belly was quite bloated. Thus, Fenrir was happily gathering snacks. Our Blackie, what are you doing now? Frozen by Sejun's voice, Fenrir turned his head like a wind-up toy and then hurriedly ran away. But his heavy, thumping steps were no match for Sejun's grasp. Heh, got you, you rascal. Fenrir was caught by the scruff by Sejun before he could get far. Blackie, you couldn't hold back and cause trouble again, huh? Fenrir had to endure a time of lecturing as he met Sejun's eyes. A little later. This is all drooled on. After scolding Fenrir, Sejun cleaned up the snacks Fenrir had stashed away. Kaying. My snacks. Unable to bear watching his snacks disappear, Fenrir buried his head deep into his sling bag and promptly fell asleep. Pipayak. Kyung. What are you doing, Hyung? In the meantime, Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax, who had woken up, helped Sejun pack the snacks into a box. After finishing packing the snacks and moving on, they arrived at the lake farm. It's Sejunim. Sejunim has arrived. The blue-backed penguins warmly welcomed Sejun. We've here, meow. Theo, delayed by encounters with one fragment of Yermangander, and 5 robbers over 4 floors due to Urin's misfortune, finally reached the 40th floor of the tower. For reference, the crying skeleton gang was not included among the robbers. Pew Hut, Chairman Park's knees aren't far now, meow. Just as Theo was about to hurry towards Sejun. It's all right. Urin, with a slightly dazed expression, started muttering to himself and walked ahead. It was a scene Theo had seen many times. Pew Hut, I can give Chairman Park something even better, meow. Theo, laughing, followed Urin. Yes, let's go kill a dragon together. Following Urin, just before he picked up a black orb. Slap. Urin, snap out of it, meow. Theo slapped Urin's cheek and quickly stuffed the black orb into his bundle. Theonym, what just? I saved you, so pay up, meow. Okay. Thanks to Urin, Theo, who also made money and obtained a piece of Fenrir's core, had another exceptionally lucky day. Pew Hut, let's go, meow. He quickly ran towards Sejun. Guys heard them this way. Pipayak. Kyung. Yes, Hyung. At Sejun's call, Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax vigorously splashed the water, driving the freshwater shrimp towards the net Sejun was holding. Sejun, waiting for the slower-than-expected Theo, continued catching freshwater shrimp. While catching freshwater shrimp, something obscured Sejun's view and stuck to his face. The familiar touch, the musky smell, and the energy, it was Theo. He had been quite far away just moments before, but suddenly, he was right here. Chairman Park, I'm here, meow. Bub. Instead of responding, Sejun blew raspberries. Pew Hut, it tickles, meow. While Theo twisted his body in laughter, Sejun grabbed him by the scruff and plopped him onto his lap. Then, snap. Theo clung to Sejun's knee. Vice Chairman Theo, did you have a good trip? Pew Hut, yes, meow. Theo answered and diligently rubbed his face against Sejun's knee, and Sejun stroked Theo's head in response. Chairman Park, sit down, meow. Theo, puffing out his chest with an arrogant expression, said to Sejun. He has something. Recognizing Theo's expression, which he only made when he had something great, Sejun complied. All right. As Sejun sat on the floor as Theo said, Theo, standing on Sejun's lap, turned his bundle upside down and shook it. Then money pouches and a black orb spilled out. Oh, this is... It wasn't just the money that surprised Sejun, but also the sight of a fragment of Fenrir's core. He had come here to search for this. Pew Hut, Chairman Park, please rub my belly, meow. Seeing the expression on Sejun's face, Theo confidently rolled onto his back, presenting his pink belly, certain he had brought something significant. It was a bit annoying, but since Theo had lessened his work, Sejun obediently rubbed Theo's belly while picking up and examining the core fragment. It's a 0.5% one. Aileen, please purify this too. Sejun entrusted the fragment of Fenrir's core to Aileen, while he was rubbing Theo's belly. Pipayak. Uncle, me too. Kyung. Kyungi wants belly rubs too. Hyung, rub my belly too. Suddenly at Sejun's side, Black Rabbit, Kyungi, and Ajax also demanded their bellies be rubbed. Sejun pondered. He only had 2 hands. He couldn't stroke all 4 at the same time. If he only stroked 2, wouldn't the other 2 feel left out? Then, I'll just hug you all, come here. As Sejun embraced all 4, initially they fussed. Pew Hut. Pipayak kaik. Kyuhiha. Ihihe. Soon the 4 were engulfed in the warmth of Sejun's embrace, their laughter unceasing. Kihivit. Even Fenrir, who was sleeping in the sling bag, felt more comfortable and curled his lips up in a smile. Sejun felt the same, as Sejun and his companions were enjoying their happy time. Pio. Hello, Sejunim. Hello, Sejunim. Piat and Urin arrived, leading Theo's slaves. On the outskirts of destruction. But what is Fenrir doing? Halfaz spoke while looking at the Black Tower. It had been 20 days since Fenrir entered the Black Tower, and there had been no contact. Normally, being a loner, it was typical for him not to keep in touch, but lately there had been strange talk among the other apostles of destruction. They said that fragments of Fenrir's core were wandering around the Black Tower. Of course, since these were small pieces with little power, there wasn't much concern. He might be unlucky, but his skills were real. It was unimaginable that Fenrir, the god-hunting wolf and the first seed of apostle of destruction, could die. But why is there no progress here? Halfas, looking at the orb Earth, which was only reddened at its tip, spoke in an annoyed tone. There were hundreds of orbs quickly turning red around Earth, even though only disasters were sent there. But Earth, peculiarly, was being consumed by destruction very slowly. It was almost at a standstill, even after he had sent his own fragment. Is there something there? Otherwise, there was no way that place alone could hold out so well. How unpleasant. Halfas felt his pride wounded, as the situation didn't improve even after sending his fragment. So Halfas decided to send a stronger fragment. It would mean a greater penalty, but it was tolerable. Of course, many sacrifices were needed for his own descent, so Halfas was preparing to send a disaster to Earth. The first disaster, Locust, which required the least sacrifice and was most effective out of the 7 disasters. However, what? Halfas found that the Locust could not be sent to Earth. Why can't it be sent? As Halfas struggled to send the Locust to Earth. You have exterminated the first disaster, Locust sent by Apostle of Destruction. You have achieved a great feat that has never been accomplished before. As a reward for the great feat, the first disaster Locust can no longer invade Earth. Locusts are extinct. Sejun was reading the message that had appeared before him. Finally, all the locusts on Earth had been exterminated. Chapter 370, I am deeply disappointed. Black Tower Administrative Area. QA delicious. Aileen was taking a break while searching for powers of destruction using the destruction detector and was enjoying some elixir, cherry tomato imbued with powerful magic power. At that moment, Wulong, the crystal orb vibrated. What is it? Aileen shoved the remaining cherry tomatoes into her mouth and checked the crystal orb. Black Tower's Farmer Park Sejun has achieved a great feat by being the first in the dimension protected by the tower to exterminate the first disaster locust. One of the growth conditions of the Black Tower, achieving 3 great feats, has been fulfilled. One of the growth conditions of the Black Tower has been met. That's our Sejun. Aileen grinned broadly as she read the alert on the crystal orb. 6 out of 8 conditions for the Black Tower had been met. Everything had been going well since she started working with Sejun. I too will become a noble and great black dragon worthy of our Sejun. So Aileen decided to work even harder. And, Hakan Opa, I told you to come see the dragon market, why haven't you come yet? Don't tell me your parents said not to come. If that's the case, I'm really disappointed. To think that you, like me, can't even move against your parents' wishes. You are such a weak hatch. Ling. Aileen began to write another letter, provoking other hatchlings to come to the dragon market. By the way, Aileen was the youngest of the 9 dragon tribes, hatchlings, at 200 years old. The hatchlings who received Aileen's letter would likely come to the dragon market at least once to restore their pride. As a reward for the great feat, the crops grown by Black Tower's Farmer Park Sejun can now absorb a very small amount of the power of destruction and convert it into nutrients. An additional reward message appeared. Being able to absorb the power of destruction and turn it into nutrients. It was a good reward, though only a small amount could be absorbed. I just need to plan a lot. Sejun decided to go back to the 99th floor of the tower and plant the of Fenrir's core fragment in the ground to try to remove the power of destruction from it. And then, I've done something amazing. Sejun, who had eradicated the first disaster locust with green onions, wore a proud expression. At that moment, clatter, Sejunim, The king of farming, whose only skull was placed in front of Sejun, called out to him after overhearing Sejun talking to himself. Urin was carrying the king of farming in a bag on his back, along with other crying skeletons. The king of farming spotted Sejun as soon as he regained consciousness and clatter. Sejunum, I'm the king of farming. He announced his identity. Thanks to Sejun, the king of farming was rescued and explained why he was there. So you're saying you came to meet me on Goddess Lee's orders, but they robbed you of all your money and grapeseed oil, leaving you penniless. Clatter. Not they, it's the Crying Skull Gang. Clatter. And they didn't steal it, they used it for the Great Revolutionary Fund. Clatter, clatter. Yes, for the great cause of overthrowing the bone-ranking caste system. Kodo and other subordinates protested fervently against Sejun's words. However, Hack, don't talk back to Chairman Park, meow. Crack. Theo hit their heads, silencing the crying skeleton gang as their barely recovered skulls shattered again. But can you really summon Goddess Lee with that body? Clatter, clatter. No, I need to be fully recovered to do that. Is that so? Then we'll have to wait. Even with Theo's healing magic, Kyungi's physical magic power massage, and Ajax's recovery spell were of no use because the bones needed to be intricately assembled. It seemed it would take about 5 hours to recover. But where are the money and grapeseed oil? They weren't with what Theo brought. Sejun watched as the king of farming's bone fragments were slowly being assembled and inquired about the items the king of farming had brought. Since the grapeseed oil was almost depleted, Sejun's attention was focused on the grapeseed oil. Clatter. Well, that's... The king of farming explained how he had been robbed of the money and grapeseed oil by another thief. Then, hack, how dare they touch Chairman Park's money, meow. Theo got angry after hearing what the king of farming said. The amount was small as 1 million tower coins, but the amount was not important. What mattered was that someone had touched Sejun's money. Only I, Vice Chairman Theo, can borrow and burn Chairman Park's money, meow. And they dared to rob that money, meow. Theo absolutely could not forgive them. Where were they robbed, meow? So he asked the king of farming where the location of the robbery had occurred to recover Sejun's money. Clatter. It was near the merchant's passage on the 38th floor of the tower. The king of farming recalled and mentioned the location where he had encountered the thieves. The merchant's passage near the 38th floor of the tower. It was a vague description, but Theo had the slave baiter Urin with him. Due to Urin's sweet misfortune, the thieves would surely show up on their own. And he would catch those thieves and turn them into slaves, and recover Sejun's money and grapeseed oil. Chairman Park, I will go and get the money back, meow. Theo hurriedly prepared to leave. Given that it was the 38th floor, he could return within about 2 hours. Vice Chairman Theo, make sure to find the grapeseed oil too. Got it, meow. Piat, let's go. Urin, you too, meow. Theo quickly moved out with Piat and Urin. 3 hours later. Pew Hut, Chairman Park, I have found the money and grapeseed oil, meow. Theo had encountered 10 teams of thieves and was delayed, but he managed to get the slave contract stamp from 100 thieves and returned. Indeed, the performance of the slave baiter was outstanding. Welcome back, we were just having dinner. Though no one else was visible around except for Sejun and Fenrir, but Pipayak. Delicious. Kuehat Kuang. How it's tasty. This is really spicy, but it's delicious. Sounds of Black Rabbit, Kyungi, Ajax, and hundreds of blue-backed penguins enjoying the spicy homemade sujibai that Sejun made with freshwater shrimp could be heard. It was due to the special effect of camouflage from the freshwater shrimp. Pew Hut, I Vice Chairman Theo want to eat grilled fish, meow. Theo quickly sat on Sejun's lap. I knew you would, so I already prepared it, here. Pew Hut, this is grilled fish made with Chairman Park's sincerity, meow. Theo received the grilled fish that Sejun had worked hard to grill and began to eat it deliciously. Urine, do you want to eat shrimp soup? And Piat, do you want to eat walnuts? Peep-ip, peep-ip. Yes, I want to eat. Sejun offered Sujubai to Urine, who eats anything, and walnuts to Piat, who likes nuts. Okay, just a moment. Blackie the walnut cracker, let's get to work. As Sejun offered the special walnut of training to Fenrir. Kaying. It makes me stronger. Crunch. Fenrir bit into the walnut and cracked it open. Crunch. Crunch. Here, eat. Sejun cracked open 5 walnuts and scooped out the walnut inside the shell and gave it to Piat. Kaying. Hey, you should give me something to eat too. All right, Blackie, eat this. In front of Sejun, Fenrir, who was eagerly barking at his food bowl, received some fish meat filleted by Sejun in his bowl. And, hey, you guys leave some for me. Sejun quickly scooped out the remaining sujubai from the nearly empty pot into a bowl and began to eat. Slurp. Ah, refreshing. Refreshed by the spicy and cool taste, Sejun sweated profusely as he ate the sujubai. After Sejun finished eating the sujubai, you have consumed the spicy and refreshing freshwater shrimp sujubai. Special effect: camouflage makes you invisible for 30 minutes. Triggered by the effect of camouflage, Sejun disappeared. A little later. Kakilahit kaying. Hey, I'm full. Now I need to ask my butler to pet my belly. Fenrir, having happily filled his belly with fish meat, looked around for Sejun. But, kaying. Where did he go? Thud, thud. Not seeing Sejun, Fenrir began earnestly running around searching for him. Kaying. I can definitely smell him. Hey, where are you? Fenrir pressed his nose to the ground and earnestly tracked Sejun's scent. And then, thump! Fenrir, while still in camouflage, bumped into Kyungi's behind and fainted. As expected, Fenrir was as fragile as a sunfish, just as Sejun had recognized. Kyung. Blackie, what are you doing here? Daddy, Blackie is sleeping here. Kyungi picked up the fainted Fenrir and delivered him to Sejun. Why is he sleeping here? Sejun placed Fenrir into the sling bag. Nobody thought that Fenrir had fainted. After Sejun had dinner. Okay, you just need to add a bucket of shrimp and a handful of salt and sprinkle it on. While he and his companions were preparing shrimp paste by adding freshwater shrimp and salt to a jar. Sejun, I'm deeply disappointed. Suddenly, the king of farming, whose bone assembly had finished, spoke with golden eyes, conveying Lee's feelings of being disappointment to Sejun. What did I do? Built a temple for the god of pebbles, Peblos, didn't you? And you didn't build one for me. A temple? At Lee's words, Sejun fell into thought for a moment. Is he talking about the 3.3 square meter Peblos road? That was indeed all he had made for Peblos. But seeing her call the road a temple, it seemed like they couldn't see this side at all from over there. I actually wanted to build your temple first, Leanim. But as you know, building a temple requires a lot of money. So he exaggerated a bit. Just using the land-moving skill, he could easily make something like a road. However, Sejun had a miraculous logic. Using skills consumes magic power, using magic power makes him hungry, and filling his stomach requires money. Course, building a temple would indeed require a lot of money. Lee agreed with Sejun's words. Yes, but since Peblos Nim offered me wealth, I had no choice but to build his temple first. I see. Sejun, I will give you 5 bottles of harvest elixir as the cost for building my temple. Really? That's right, and, I hope my temple is bigger than Peblos's and attracts more visitors. Foot traffic is also important. Sejun, enriched by the good information from Lee. Of course, I'll build a massive temple for you in a better location than Peblos Nim's temple. 5 bottles of harvest elixir would be worth 50 billion tower coins. He could just pave a 16.5 square meter stone engraved with Lee's name on a path well traveled by mushroom ants and call it Lee Road. Sejun responded after making an estimate. But do you have any other divine items like the golden box of abundance? Sejun asked Lee if there were any more divine items. That it's difficult now, so I'll give it to you later, then for now. Lee, unable to admit she couldn't create it due to a lack of divine power, hastily tried to leave when, aren't you selling any harvest elixirs today? Sejun quickly called Lee back, thinking of buying a large amount of elixirs since he had plenty of money. But those 5 potions just now were all I had. Lee answered with a somber voice, making elixirs required not only divine power but also time. Ah, then take this. Sejun, feeling uneasy about Lee's response, took out 50 billion tower coins and handed them to Lee. This. I'll take the temple costs later. Pay me back when you can. Thank you, Park Sejun. You are very kind. I will surely repay this favor. Lee spent all the time she could praising Sejun before returning. And your soul is fulfilled by the high praise from the God of abundance, Lee. Mental strength increases by 10. Thanks to Lee's praise, Sejun's mental strength increased. I'll have to treat her well and earn more praises next time. Sejun, thinking that he should also receive praise along with wealth the next time he meets the gods, placed the harvest elixir in the void storage, and then said, Guys, let's go home, Toryang. He called Toryang and prepared to return home. The territory of the great golden dragon. Eek, a mere 200-year-old dares to call me, the great golden dragon a weak hatchling. Hocus, lying in a fluffy golden cradle, got worked up while reading Aileen's letter. I Hocus will show how strong a hatchling I am. Hocus resolved himself as he got out of the golden cradle. And, Mom, I want to go to the Black Tower. He started crying and whining loudly.